that. Okay, I think we are live. Cool. I'm going to send out a few real quick links. Okay. Hey. Hello.
Hello.
Hey, Daren, what are you doing on here?
I don't know. You just dragged me in here.
Yeah, I was like, get the hell on here.
I guess this is what I'm doing today now. I guess.
Yeah, you got it. I said, if you don't do this, that's it. It's everything's over. Everything's in the ground. That's
We're
if you
through.
Yeah. No, Superman is next week. The big film, big deal.
Yeah.
The biggest film of my life so far, I would say. It's kind of insane that the new DCU is starting with our first Superman film in 12 years. The first Superman film with live action Superman film with Superman in the title that's about Superman since Superman Returns, because I guess Batman v Superman was like a mix of both. That's crazy, 2006 being the last just Superman titled film. How are you feeling with that? Are you excited for it?
I am excited. I am. I think we're in I haven't processed yet that it's
it's
in a couple of days.
Yeah.
Like most of what I've done on YouTube, like serious stuff on YouTube over the last couple of years, started when James Gunn announced Superman, or when they announced this stuff was coming out. So it wasn't so much this last year, but the year prior, me and you were here almost every single week talking
it was a great
updates,
time.
castings, and announcements, and suits, and posters, and it's it's really crazy that it's next week, and I know. I'm a little I'm very much in the mindset that I most of the time enjoy a journey for a movie.
Yeah.
Oftentimes more than the movie itself. Yeah. I've loved Thunderbolts, but I probably enjoyed the journey to Thunderbolts even more. And I feel
the marketing for Thunderbolts was great. Those were fun trailers.
It is, yeah. And I think with both Fantastic Four and Superman, I'm almost dreading them coming, because then it's then what do I have to talk about? I have talked about these movies for so long. Yeah. Now they're here. Oh, this is crazy. But yeah, it's been an incredible journey getting here. Yeah. It's kind of crazy.
Absolutely. No, I agree. It's Superman more than anything, because they're doing that big summer of Superman marketing push.
Yeah.
Wasn't there that rumor before they let the person go that it was going to be the marketing for it was going to be done by the same person who did Barbie? Yeah. And they're they're going to give Superman as a film the push that Barbie got as a film. And I mean that didn't pan out. I would still say the Barbie marketing was way more than the Superman marketing to an extent. Yeah. But I think Superman's still getting the biggest push we've seen for a comic book film
in a long
time. Since Avengers Endgame, maybe I would say. Maybe the Batman. The Batman got quite a lot.
I think Barbie was a thing where it's there's a lot of marketing, but I feel a lot of it was done by fans as well, right? A lot of that was they marketed it a lot, but obviously it was the whole Barbieheimer, this event thing that fans were doing themselves, right? It was so, okay, this is awesome. And then I feel Warner Brothers is trying to recreate that with all these other various projects that they're announcing. It's no, you can't do that. That was a one-time thing. You can't replicate that same formula a second time.
Lightning in a bottle.
Exactly.
It was the kind of film it was the kind of audience it was grabbing. It was the time it was coming out, the films it was paired with. It really is something that just it either happens or it doesn't.
Yeah.
You can't do that. But I guess I didn't introduce the stream properly. So Daren, how are you? Thank you for joining me on this. How are you doing?
I'm good. I am good. I'm always a fan when I can when we can do any sort of kind of stream or any kind of video type thing. It's always a blast. You are one of my favorite people to talk to, and again, I'm glad that we can have some kind of Superman coverage. Again, we've been waiting so long, and it's here. Holy shit!
And both of us have been talking about the DCU since the week of the James Gunn announcement video. Of the idea that we're getting a whole new DC universe has always been super exciting. It's been scary because we knew that it was going to mean we were going to lose a lot of stuff that we were currently invested in. But to get there was great. There's a couple things I think I wanted to do on this stream. Obviously Superman's going to be the big thing. We'll probably leave talking about Superman till last. Wanted to do brief Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. talk with you, because why am I having you on if we're not talking about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? It's
every time we had to do it.
Big deal for both of us. Because we've had some new rumors, and really recently, as of early May, we had Christian Ritter announced as returning for Jessica Jones and Daredevil Born. Not a rumor. it's an official, article announced. Go to Boys Hate Chainsaw. Good to see you. Is that a thing from the
Yeah,
stream?
that's a nickname that I somehow got, and I don't know where it started, but I guess I'm the goodest of boys.
Well, hey, look.
There's
Welcome
worse
to
things to
Goodest of
be,
Boys.
I guess.
That's great. That's great. But yeah, we had, Jessica was officially announced as coming for Daredevil Born Again. We'd been hearing rumors about it for so long, but now it's like an official thing. But then there's two things before we get into Agents of Shield I want to go over. The first thing is like really fresh, as in like the last 20 minutes ago this came out. That and I know you're a big Last of Us fan. Did you check Discussing Film the last like half hour?
I did see that. Yeah, I did.
The Craig Mazin is writing all of season 3 himself. Neil Druckmann will not be returning to write season 3. How do you feel about that?
It's interesting. I feel like Last of Us Part 2 hate has kind of got a little blown out of proportion for my liking. Yeah. Like, I think season 2 could have been better. I don't think it's a perfect season. I think especially in those final couple episodes they did drop the ball for me. But I do feel like there's been this narrative that like season 2 was the worst piece of television of all time, and I genuinely don't understand that take. Like, it could have been better. There's things that could have been fixed or changed, but I think people are like, this is the like biggest downgrading quality of all time. Like, no, I think season 2 is still a really good season of TV. I think it's still my top 10 of this year for me, and like some baller television in here. I feel like we've talked about this previously. I feel like I'm always a little hesitant when one person is writing every episode of a TV season. Even though Craig Mazin is, obviously he's a fantastic writer and he's a fantastic producer. And,
I mean, Chernobyl's amazing. It's one of the best television experiences of all time.
Yeah, and like it's been really interesting how they've been kind of approaching this like season 2, because they've been really like, oh guys, this is our bad, I'm so sorry. So and I kind of don't love that either, of them just being like trying to like push back so hardly on it, like, guys, I totally get it, it's all our fault. And I think there is I think it's good to take accountability when stuff like this happens, but I feel like they've been maybe taking it too far, and it seems like they're really taking it to heart and trying to fix things around.
In Neil's defense, Heretic or Intergalactic, the Heretic Project is a Prophet project, the Heretic Prophet. That's like the Naughty Dog's next big game, like their first big game since Last of Us Part 2. And games take a lot out of the people who make them.
Sure.
I can completely see him being like, Last of Us Season 3 probably shouldn't have the almost 2.5-year break between seasons 1 and 2. Like, it can't have a break that long again, just due to how season 2 ended. And I think he's like looking at it and he's like, I could kill myself trying to make the two of them together. It would work me to death, or I could give it all to Craig and just concentrate on the games, because the games is what, Neil is it's what he's passionate about. That said, I was a little bit in the fandom at the end of season 2 airing, just looking a bit at what people were saying.
Yeah.
And a lot of people were like, we're talking about people who played the game. I haven't played the second game. I played the first game. People who played the second game, and we're talking about the changes that were made from the game to the season of television.
Yeah.
A lot of the changes came from Craig Mazin himself. And I saw a lot of people being like, the more Craig parts of the season weren't what they loved in comparison to a lot of the Neil parts of the season, which makes me curious as to how, like, what this means for season 3, and if this is going to be something that the fandom really doesn't like, if they're not about this. So we'll see about that. Have you seen any of that stuff about people kind of talking about how they haven't liked the changes?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Like, there's definitely, I think some of it's very valid. I think some of it is stuff where I was like, yeah, I maybe would have liked that being done better. I feel like a lot of my stuff was like, I like these changes, but not necessarily the execution of these changes.
Of course, yeah.
Like, I think how they did Ellie was one of the big things, where it's like, I kind of liked how they were changing her personality, and it felt like they were building to turning her into the like game version. But they don't fully commit to it, and when it does happen, it kind of falls flat, in my opinion. So again, it's not that they made these changes, it's that they couldn't execute them in the way that I think would have worked for the story. And I think some of that is on them. I also think some of it is just very, very hard to execute in a TV formula, right? Like, some of these, I think it's it's like an easy show to adapt, but I feel like to adapt it 100%, you can't, because it's a different medium that they're adapting it into. And I think my favorite parts of Last of Us Part 1 and Part 2, you can't necessarily capture that same feeling again, because it's you just traveling around and really spending time in these
Yeah, you
moments.
spend
You
like
can't do
15
that.
hours to 20
Yeah.
hours with, you know, with Ellie or Joel or whatever, that you
Yeah.
can't replicate that in a 7-hour season of television.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm curious how season 3 is going to go down, because like I feel like that drop off is going to be pretty big
I think it'll
in
be
terms
felt,
of
yeah.
viewerships, because like I actually like Abby quite a bit. Like I like how it challenges you as an audience, being like, hey, now you have to go experience the person that killed your favorite character. Like, I
Yeah.
think that's awesome. I think this is ballsy. I respect
I
them
think it is
doing
too, yeah.
this. But also, it's like, yeah, people are gonna be like, well, I didn't sign up for that. I didn't sign up for
Yeah.
Abby. I signed up for Ellie and Joel. And so I think if people dropped off after just Joel leaving, like a season without Ellie is going to be a hard pitch for some people. So I'm excited for it, but I'm curious how that whole environment's going to go.
No, I agree as well. It's I was surprised they went through with the Joel thing so quickly, because I felt like that's such a hard sell in the game. But for TV shows, you might be watching them because you're watching for an actor. So to lose certain characters so soon into a season, I could have seen that being something that, you know,
Yeah.
really, really, really ruined the show for a lot of people. But yeah, we don't need to spend a whole lot of time on that. I mean, I'm curious to see what they do. I think that Abby's gonna be a great character when they get around to it.
Yeah.
I just think splitting the entire game into 3 seasons and having something like, if this was a part 2 of the same season where we do the middle, you know, maybe a month break halfway through, then come back and we've got episodes that are just about Abby,
Sure.
I think that'd be much more digestible than the end of a season being the reveal that next season's going to be about a character that you've seen barely anything about so far.
Yeah. And then
Yeah.
season 4 is even going to be a bigger mystery, because they do have like an ending for the game,
Yes,
but it's
I
very, very
heard about the
short,
epilogue.
and like
Yeah.
they're going to have to add a lot of stuff to fill in the gaps, unless it's like a 3-episode season or something.
Yeah.
Like they
Yeah.
have to like add a lot of stuff there.
For sure, for sure. Okay. Hello, Jonathan. Good morning.
Hello.
How is Australia? Is it early over there? And what Agents of Shield news? There's no Agents of Shield news, but there are. God, I wish it was Agents of Shield news. There was a new rumor that I think it was it last week or the week before?
That was last
that
week. Yeah.
Cosmic Marvel came out with an article by Alex Perez, who's one of the people who writes for Cosmic Circus, and he, like, you know, does these Q&As every few months where he talks about things he knows or he's heard about upcoming Marvel stuff. But the thing is, Alex Perez, he works for Cosmic Circus. He's not like a random insider that they know. So it seems weird to me that like they're interviewing this guy all the time who already works for them, who apparently knows lots about upcoming Marvel stuff. Anyway, he said that the Vision Quest series will reportedly make Agents of Shield fans very happy. He where's the actual quote where he said that they'll celebrate a small win. But yeah, so I made a video on this last week where I talked about this in the relation to the Vision Quest and how, if anything, I feel like it could be a reference to like an LMD or like to Holden Radcliffe or to an LMD Coulson or something like that, or even Ada, you know, something like that. The Darkhold was in WandaVision, and the Darkhold is what gave Ada sentience in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 4. That could be something that's referenced in this, because Vision Quest being a direct sequel to WandaVision in a lot of ways could make sense. Also, Ultron, the whole Age of Ultron storyline was a huge part of, or the whole Ultron storyline in Avengers was a huge part of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. seasons 2 to 4. What happened in Sokovia played into the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. storylines in a big way, so it could be something related to that. But yeah, what do you think? Do you think there's anything to this, or is it just random? Not a thing.
Could go either way.
We've been lied to a lot.
I keep going back and forth. I feel like every time we stream, I go either it's never going to happen or it's definitely going to happen. Like I keep going back and forth on which side of the fence I'm on. I think right now I'm actually slightly more positive at the potential of return. I think just because right now there's a lot of talk about like all those shows kind of coming back. You know, Daredevil Born Again is on. They're filming season 2. There's rumors about season 3s and 4s and stuff like that. You know, Jessica Jones is coming back. Punisher is in the new Spider-Man movie.
Yeah, no, that's a big deal. That is a big deal.
Like, it feels like they're really focusing. It seems like the future of their TV section is going to be like more grounded stories and stuff that's more isolated to, and not focusing on like their main big storylines and events. Yeah. That's to be focused in the movie, which is what they were doing before. They just needed to transfer it over to Disney Plus, and that's a bit frustrating.
You need to figure that whole showrunner thing, the television shows I've been doing for 50 years, but for some reason it took Disney Plus like 5 years to figure out that you need showrunners to make TV shows.
It's so stupid that they had to be like, we're canceling all these shows and we're making this new better stuff just for those all to end, be like, oh, you guys had it right, actually, let's just do that. But like, yeah, like there is a world where I can see where they're like, you know what, let's just these fandoms are still very alive, let's just do Daredevil, Punisher, and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. again or something, and those are your couple of shows. And like, I don't think that's likely, but I'm also, there's a part of me that's like, I could maybe see it. In terms of Vision Quest,
like, what do you think that's going to be? Do you think it's a reference? Do you think it's an LMD Coulson showing up? Do you think it's Mac leading S.H.I.E.L.D.? Because there is supposed to be an assassin in the show that's hunting Vision and hunting like the technology that created Vision. Could be searching for some sort of robotic stuff that we saw in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
I'd love, like, it'd be so awesome if Clark Gregg could come in here. Like that would be an insanely cool moment. I don't think that's what it is, but like the idea of having this show with a bunch of AI characters, having Ultron and Vision and Jarvis, and like, it would kind of make sense if maybe there's a little, like it would, like, I feel like if Clark Gregg was going to show up in the MCU again as that version of the character that we left off in season 7, this would be the perfect opportunity to reintroduce it.
It makes sense.
It would. And like, I was listening to your video the other day, and you're like, how would they explain it? I feel like they would literally just be like, it's a long story. It was like, I thought you died. I did. It's a long story.
Now I'm back.
Move on.
That does seem very marvelly of them to do that, especially in the age where even like their own fully canon Disney Plus shows kind of have to be hand waved away with like little 1-sentence explanations because there's so much now. The idea that they're going to do that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is pretty likely, I feel like, to do the same thing. And then Brad Winderbaum, who's really kind of headlining the Marvel Disney Plus stuff at the moment, is super on board with bringing back a lot of the characters, a lot of the people from the old stuff. Like, do you think Jessica Jones, for example, is going to lead to Luke Cage or Danny Rand being in a season 4 or even season 2?
I think Luke Cage is in. I think
in season 2?
I think so. Danny, I'm not so sure about. I know they were in New York, both Danny and like both those actors were in New York not that long ago, and people were like, "Oh my gosh!"
For this, the big news was seeing some of the Netflix actors in Clark, Ming, Chloe with Jeff Loeb at New York Comic Con. Something is definitely going on behind the scenes. I think it was that you saw them there for.
It's again, I don't know. I just saw people on social media freaking out that they were in New York. I would not be shocked if they're in season 2. I'm glad at least Jessica is there, because I said when season 1 ended, I was like, due to the storyline they are doing, they cannot at least reference them. They have to at least reference why they're not involved, because every single one of those characters would be affected, and that would 100% be like, hey, we should probably talk about what's going on in New York right now. Like that would 100% be a thing. So I'm glad that Jessica's involved. I would not be shocked if Luke is involved. Danny, I think, is the one that they're less likely to touch on due to
I have some reasons why I think Danny might actually be safer than we think he is, because the current Iron Fist in the comics is Lin Lee. That's the Iron Fist is in Marvel Rivals. The MCU has already had 2 Iron Fists, or will have 2 Iron Fists by the end of August this year. We had the younger one in the Shang-Chi Kate Bishop episode of What If. Then we're having a much older one appear in Wakanda. Eyes of Wakanda, that's coming out in August. Which I don't know, did they say what century that Iron Fist is from? Is it like 1,000 years ago, 500 years ago, something like that?
I'm unclear because I think there's going to be 4 different timelines.
It's
so
4 different time periods.
Any of them?
But it's an older character.
Yeah, and I think if Danny comes back, I could see it being a world where it is a passing of the mantle, right? Like
Yeah.
he's been Iron Fist for 10 years now, and then he's passing it on to a new, person, to a
Yeah.
different character, someone maybe slightly more accurate to the source material that they're adapting, right? I think
Yeah.
that is definitely on the table. And yeah, like I think right now, just to like slightly get back to the Agents of Shield thing, where I think like if they're coming back, it has to be right now, I think. Because after Secret Wars, it doesn't matter, right? It
No, I
doesn't
was gonna say,
matter
yeah, time is running out. Like, it needs to be within the next 2 years. If we don't see them by the end of Avengers,
Yeah.
6, I think
Yeah, because like it
everyone's gonna be
doesn't.
gone.
Yeah, because we're done with the multiverse after this, so at least for like a long while. So you can't just the multiverse variants down the line, and also like nothing will be canon in 2 years' time, right? Like it's all going to be like a thing of the past, and then they can rebrand. That doesn't mean you can't bring those characters back in this like new continuity. But the whole is
The
it
versions you
canon?
know.
Was it canon?
Yeah.
That doesn't matter because none of it's canon now. It's all new. So,
Yeah.
which is why I think that it would be the best time to do it because I don't have to worry about well, we want to use Ghost Rider and we want to use Bobby and then people
Yeah.
won't understand. Do it right now. They don't have to understand and because you're just going to redo it anyway. So
Yeah.
make it canon. Make anything canon. Make Man of Steel canon and it's fine. You can just redo it.
Yeah.
You know. So
Because like, the problem is, we know what projects we're getting before Avengers Doomsday comes out. We're getting Vision Quest next year, probably early next year. If it's They probably will want that out before Doomsday, because I
yeah,
assume Doomsday is gonna have a thing similar to Infinity War, where it's gonna end with that huge, crazy thing that you can't really have many projects take place between it and Secret Wars unless it's directly related
yeah.
to Secret
Well,
Wars. I don't
now
think
it's
Vision Quest is gonna be.
December, right? So it could
That's
be
true,
anytime
sorry, yeah,
during the
they
year.
they they pushed that to December, so yeah, you pretty much have the entirety of 2026
Mhm.
to do things like Daredevil Born Again Season 2, Vision Quest,
Yeah,
um, maybe another series if they wanna get something out, but the thing is, like, I can't see, characters like an LMD Coulson or a Daisy Johnson necessarily fitting in Daredevil Born Again Season 2, especially going with the grounded storyline of, they're running from Mayor Fisk and
yeah,
Matt's putting together this underground group of vigilantes. No offense to Daisy, she's great, but I mean, it's not an offense to her. It's saying that she's a character who's much bigger now than dealing with, the mayor of New York. As of the end of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., she's hanging out in space a lot. She's
right.
co-leading S.H.I.E.L.D. She's doing a lot of things that are far more important
Mm.
than helping Matt Murdock and Jessica Jones go against Kingpin in New York City. Yeah. What were we gonna say?
I was just gonna say like it would never happen, but like Fantastic Four would be awesome if like at the end of Fantastic Four they're
Yeah.
just in space and they're like, "Hey, you're crossing like barrier territory. What are you
Yeah,
doing?"
yeah.
As
Her,
if like your
Susan, and
agents of
Cora up there in
yeah, as just
Zephyr
like
2 or whatever they called it.
as like your agents of Sword, just like members. Like you don't even have to explain who they are. They're just people who work for Sword and they're trying
Yeah.
to
Like
take care of
protecting
them or
everyone.
whatever.
I'm still annoyed they didn't shoehorn one of them into the Marvels.
Yeah.
I think, shoehorning Daisy in for a cameo in the Marvels would have required zero explanation, would have been perfect. Just have her as be one of the agents up
Mm-hmm.
on that giant space station thing they had and just be up there like, what's going on? Why are all these cats running around? Stuff like that. Like,
Yeah.
it would have worked. That's where it really would have fit most, especially with Inhuman stuff being semi brought in. Um yeah, it's definitely feels like we're running out of time where it needs to be within the next year to year and a half, or
Yeah.
we're probably not going to see much. I'm interested to see what Marvel projects are going to be between Doomsday and Secret Wars besides
Mhm.
Spider-Man, because surely they're going to have
Well, now
one or
that's
two
before.
TV seasons in there.
That's
Spider-Man is summer
before
now.
now.
Spider-Man is summer
Yeah.
now. Yeah.
So yeah, there's
They keep
currently
moving
nothing
that
in
so many
between.
times that it's hard to keep up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like what's going to be between those two projects? I know there's one Marvel project still slated for early 2027.
Hmm.
It's February, isn't it? And then there's TV probably. Like if Born Again gets a season 3, it'd probably be out
Yeah.
around then. But I'm not even convinced we are, because Born Again season 1 did so low viewership wise. Like season 2 was a given because they were already filming it. But is
I
season 3
think they'll do.
guaranteed?
I think it'll do better as the show goes along. Like I
Okay.
think once
True.
they find like a stride, like because they said that they want to do a season a year for like the next several years,
Yeah.
which like would be awesome. I'm kind of with you. I am a little nervous. I think they'll be fine. But I'm with you. I do think there's at least one secret movie. I think there's going to be one secret movie in there that takes place in between.
I think it's
My
got to
bets
be
have been
Doctor
on your
Strange,
Doctor
right?
Strange 3.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's gotta
that, and it makes sense because like Cumberbatch had been going back and forth for a while. We're like, I am in Avengers Doomsday, and he's like, no, I'm not. Wait, I
I
am.
don't
And it
think
was like,
our Strange is in it. I think he'll be in it playing another different Strange, and then our Strange, our Strange's story will be in his film, or him meaning he is in it, he's not in. Could be like a post-credit scene, similar to like Avengers: Infinity War, where the credit scene is revealing Doctor Strange Tree coming in to help, and yeah, I know something like that. Yeah, but I don't know. It's interesting to see. I hope it all works out because it would be easy for these films to be bad. Like it would be easy for them to mess this up, like far more than it was during Phase 3 when the quality control was slightly better now.
yeah.
Not to say Marvel's putting out bad projects now, but I feel like they're far more hit or miss at the moment, where you're not always guaranteed your next one's going to be great. I feel like it will be easy for Doomsday to be kind of underwhelming, where we come out of it being like, it wasn't bad, but it's easily the worst Avengers film.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Well, now I'm going to be very interesting because we have entered a new era, especially now that we're done with the Ironheart, because Ironheart was the last Bob Chapek's led project.
The last non-showrunner series, pretty much.
Everything going forward, except for maybe Wonder Man. I think Wonder Man was kind of a half and half situation, a little bit with like Vision Quest 2. But like going forward is all stuff where Bob Iger has come back in and he's like, stop everything you're doing. Let's refocus. Let's do this. Kevin Feige seems to be more focused now. They're they like keep preaching quality over quantity. That they keep saying that over and over and over and over again. I know those are keywords, but it does seem like they're kind of serious about that. So going forward, it's going to be like, okay, let's see what you got. I thought Thunderbolts was a great starter to that. Of like, okay, if that's what we're getting,
Thunderbolts was great.
Sure, yeah. And I think Daredevil, like I think those last episodes of like Daredevil also kind of showed that like, okay, they're actually trying, and I'm excited to see what that full roster looks like. Like what does a full new season of Daredevil look like, where it's 100% their stuff. So I like everything. I'm actually really like excited for this next era of Marvel because like I think it's one of my favorite lineups in a while. With just like Fantastic Four and Vision Quest and a Spider-Man and 2 Avengers movies and X-Men and like I feel like it's one of their strongest lineups we've had in a very long time, especially if they're all good.
It feels like we're not getting a lot of introductory projects or fillery projects where like, a lot of Phase 4 and Phase 5, not to say they were bad, but they felt like it was a lot of setup projects. That was a lot of introducing characters or putting characters in this group so that they're there and ready for when you need them for the next big film. But now it feels like we're getting those big films and those big projects.
We're finally paying the stuff off. And, part of that's a little scary. I think especially as Thunderbolts. I think Thunderbolts didn't do as well as they wanted it to do.
No,
obviously.
It did really bad money-wise.
Like, it still technically made back its money, but it didn't gain a lot either for the studio, right? So I think after a lot of these solo projects haven't done as what they want to, I am scared it's all going to be Spider-Man, Avengers, and X-Men for the next several years.
It could be.
And, like, I think it's going to be a lot of, like, team-up stuff that they feel very confident in, and I love that stuff, but also when you never have those original characters again, like that scares me a little bit.
It is.
I don't know how I feel about that.
No, I agree completely with that. It is kind of going to be interesting to see what works and what doesn't work going into this new set of films and this new set of projects. Are they going to pull a Crisis and completely rewrite everything where mutants and Fantastic Four have always existed in the same universe after Secret Wars? I think that's probably pretty likely. I think, the main purpose of doing Doomsday and Secret Wars now is because we're approaching, like, if you include the Disney Plus shows, we're approaching like 60 projects almost at this point in the MCU. An insane amount of things that people who want to watch everything will have to watch. I think what the purpose of doing Secret Wars now is that they can take what is still extremely popular and what really works from the current era of Marvel, keep it, and recast or redo everything that isn't. So, like, they can redo an Iron Man if they want. They can redo a Thor if they want. They can redo a Hulk if they want. But then things like, Florence Pugh as Yelena, probably Sebastian Stan as Bucky, Charlie Cox as Daredevil, a lot of these other little things will probably stay there because they are currently really popular and currently a lot of people are liking them. But then a lot of the older elements from, you know, the late 2000s to early 2010s, you're probably going to see them gotten rid of and redone. Like this will give them room to start a new Shield if they want to and not have to worry about
Sure.
15 years of history with it, which will be disappointing for Agents of Shield fans. But I think it's different here because the same thing is going to be happening to everyone. Like everyone is probably going to be losing something out of the Marvel timeline that they really like and seeing it redone or done differently. So
that could be kind of cool though if you can have a way of like those characters keeping their memories, right? Like I feel like that wouldn't be a bad way to do a new Agents of Shield where it's like, well, I was in space and now I'm back here and we're all part of the same team again. How did we get here? You know, like do it like a almost what seemingly like Peacemaker's going to do. It's like
that is the
we're
most
in this
exciting
new
part
continuity now. Yeah. Why? What happened? And like that could be a new like a have it be where like it is the same continuity now, but it's not, and you can bring in new people via that, but also like continue where you were. Like that could be kind of fun if you wanted to go that route with it.
That is the most exciting part about Peacemaker for me as well. It's just like the idea of that being part of the storyline feels like you're taking advantage of the inherently cool idea that's been put out. Yeah.
I think that's either going to be the best thing that they could do or the worst thing. I don't think there's an in-between with that.
I think it'll be fine. I mean, Peacemaker Season 1 was really good. I think they need to keep it kind of restrained in... I mean, I can't say they have to keep the comedy restrained because that's one of the main parts of the
Peacemaker,
show. Yeah. But I feel like if they go at it with a bit of an emotional punch to it, it could be really good, which I think they will with the idea that, you know, like there is another Peacemaker and his brother's still alive, right? Is that the angle they're going with? Something like that?
I don't know.
We'll see.
It's tough because like I don't even know when that stuff takes place in the like because like we start the trailer with like him with the like the
they
new
said
like, Justice
right
gang.
They said
yes.
It's like right after,
Yes, but like I don't know when the like transition happens, right? Because like
of course,
the like start of the trailer is like him with the like Justice Gang, and that's clearly this new continuity. But the stuff with the other Peacemaker, that seems like maybe before the transfer happened. Like I'm curious if we start the show inside the like DCEU.
I think we will. Like we'll start it in the DCU, and it'll be our Peacemaker ends up in the new DCU. Sure. Like he wakes up and it's just the new DCU. And I think that'll be a really fun first episode, is like he wakes up, he just goes about his day as usual. He starts noticing little things that are off, but he's like, it's like a Groundhog Day scenario where, you know, they're like noticing the world is weird, but they're like, whatever, I must have had a bad dream. That's why things are like this. And then he runs into himself and he's like, what is going on? I think that'd be really cool.
Yeah.
That'd be really fun.
That'd be interesting. Yeah. I kind of wish they would wait. I kind of wish it wasn't like exactly a month after Superman. Like I wish there was a
early August. Yeah,
that's next month. Gap. That's crazy. I know it's. I would like a little bit more time to process Superman, especially since there's not another DCU project until middle of next year. Like Lanterns would be the next. Yeah,
Lanterns is January. Yes, or like supposed to be early 2020.
Yeah, so I think I would have preferred like maybe like a fall, like an October or something, or like even like a September. I don't know, but that's just me. That's just like a nitpick, I guess.
Yeah. All right. Well, I didn't want to spend too much time on the Marvel stuff on Agents of Shield. We talked about it a bit. We talked about it. Yeah. So do you think the reference or the appearance is likely?
I wouldn't say likely. I'd say it's possible. I think
possible. Yeah.
I think a cameo is unlikely. I think a reference is possible. Is what I'd say. I could see a little. Actually, I would not be shocked if the Darkhold, I think, would be the easiest cameo, just to be like, oh yeah, this weird like AI had the Darkhold
like
a couple years
ago. It's affected AI in the past or something.
Yeah.
Even, you know what? That actually could be it. If the Darkhold affects Ultron, that could be considered a reference to Agents of Shield, because it's like this thing happened in Agents of Shield. You know, that's what the reference is. They're not saying it out loud that this was from Agents of Shield. But the fact that it is affecting AI is a reference to how it affected AI in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. That'd be a cop-out, but I could see that.
Sure. Or, like, if there are cameos, it could be, like, a clip cameo. Like, maybe Ultron is, like, scanning all the, like, AIs on Earth or something, and it flashes to, like, Natalie from Ironheart, and it flashes to... I haven't seen it. Maybe she dies. I'm not sure. But, like, you know, they flash to Ironheart stuff. They flash to... Maybe, like, there's a 1.5 second clip of like Clark Gregg or Ada or like those Vision and all these things. It's like, oh wait, what was that? And it's just it is a win for us because it does make it canon, but they're not addressing it at all. It's just a like blink and you miss it kind of thing.
That'd be really similar to like Daniel Whitehall in Avengers Endgame or he didn't end up in the final cut of the film, but when they are going through like the big lists of all the Infinity Stones, originally Daniel Whitehall, when he was in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., was supposed to be on down in the corner of the Tesseract clip, and then they removed it for some reason. But it would be similar to that, where it's like a little thing you can point to and be like, this is canon, this is why it's canon. And yeah, that'd be cool. I could see that. So you think that's what's going to happen? You think there'll be a reference?
I think there'll be
like a tiny reference.
I could see it. And if it doesn't happen here, it's not happening at all, I think.
Okay.
Unless it's in Secret Wars, unless it's a Secret Wars thing, and it's like, oh, this is another Earth, and you see a clip of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. for a second or something. But
we'll just recreate the beginning of Crisis on Infinite Earths episode 3 when they do like a Birds of Prey scene when they're running and they see the red skies. It'll just be Daisy doing that exact same scene again. That'd be crazy. But yeah, no, I hope so as well. I hope that's a thing we get to see. I agree. I think other than like a multiversal collapse clip inside of Secret Wars, I think if we don't see it in Vision Quest, probably not seeing it. We're 4 Spider-Man films in. We would have seen it in Spider-Man 1 through 3 if it was going to happen. We're a season of Daredevil Born Again. I guess because Daredevil Born Again season 1 wasn't exactly a TV connected season. Maybe if since season 2 is the first real TV connected season, they can use it as an excuse to connect Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. a little bit.
I could see Daredevil. I think it's unlikely as hell. I know people keep doing the whole like Daisy Johnson and him grew up in the same orphanage thing, but like
orphanage. We're there at the same time.
How do you connect that? How do you possibly, unless you do backflash stuff, which would be crazy as hell. Like you don't even get Chloe Bennett back, but you get like
you get like a younger version of Daisy. Like
that could actually be kind of
Sky. She'd be at the time.
People would be pissed because people want like Chloe Bennett back, but like I would take that as a win. I would totally take that as a win.
Yeah. The Micro Daisy connection is much easier because she knew Micro from Punisher, but now Micro is the thing. So can you do that? Probably not. Disney will probably want you to forget that Evan Moss Patrick was already in
that one works show. Because he's from like a whole nother world, right?
It does, so, but I think they'll still want you to forget. They'll probably not want to bring that character back. We'll see. Hopefully we get something, but as always, I'm not extremely holding my breath to that. Born Again Season 2 is filming inside the Fogwell Gym. We could see a flashback to the Krill versus Murdoch fight. We definitely could, but that's another situation where I would be so surprised if they got the actor from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. back just to show that fight. I think if we got a flashback to a Murdoch fight, they just pick a random actor for him to fight. Because we got flashbacks to his fights in Daredevil itself. Like season 3 brought him back for some flashback fights, and in that he was always just fighting a random guy. I think if we do a flashback to a fight, it'd probably be that, and they wouldn't go to the effort of getting the Krill actor back. They could though. I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, that's a lot of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Marvel talk. So let's talk about Superman movie. So yeah, this comes out. When are you seeing it? You're seeing it on Tuesday, aren't you?
I haven't bought tickets for Tuesday. I haven't bought tickets for Tuesday, but every day I'm like, maybe I should try.
I think you should do it. I think you have to do it.
I don't know
it's
if I'm
Superman,
working it or
man.
not. I'm afraid to buy tickets and then I can't go. Is my thing.
Could you not call in sick? Could you not be
like? But I just took a whole week off. I just had like 11 days straight off from.
If it's for Superman, I'd be calling in sick. If I had the opportunity to go to see Superman on Tuesday, I would go.
I might buy my tickets, and then if I can't go, I can't go. I might just be like, well,
I'd fly over for it. I should have planned it out better. I did like a 1-day trip to the US, do a 9-hour flight, get off the plane, go see Superman, immediately get on a 9-hour flight back. I should have done that. Yeah. €700 just to see Superman.
Imagine if
were those tickets the same price as in North? Oh God, if it sucks, I'm gonna.
Imagine it sucked and you drove across the world.
No. That's we can't talk about that. We can't put the idea of it being bad into our brains. But like, were the Prime tickets? Were they the same price as normal tickets?
I didn't look. I didn't look, and it sucks because now I have my membership with like Regal, so I don't actually typically look at prices. I'll just like scan my thing,
No,
bro.
of course. Yeah, I was the same when I was on like
I
an OmniPass version of that here.
I would assume I don't know. I've had friends that went to that premiere in like LA, that like big premiere for Superman, and like I was so jealous. I
Did
was
they
so
tell you anything about
jealous.
it? Like, you
They
don't say anything at all, but, like, did they tell
About
you
the
anything about it?
movie?
Yeah.
And I didn't mention much about the movie, but like I saw a bunch of videos about just like all the like the whole setup. Like they had this little like Daily Planet setup in the studio where you can like walk through and look at the
Oh, I saw
newspapers
Greg
and
Alba. Was
same,
it
yeah,
somewhere really the same
yeah,
place? Yeah, okay, okay, I did see, videos of that, yeah.
yeah. I saw that. I was like, I want to go to that so bad.
Yeah.
I would go to
Looks
that.
great. God. And all the little Superman stuff you could take. They had cans there, they had all the pops. There's
Yeah.
so there's a Forbidden you don't have Forbidden Planet there, do you? It's like a comic book shop.
I've never heard of that.
There is a Forbidden Planet in Dublin. So it's like a comic book shop, it's like a Funko Pop shop, whatever. They had the Superman Funko Pops the week before they went on official sale, and I was walking past the window of it when I was in Dublin. I saw the Superman Funko and the Lex Luthor Funko in the window. I went running in, and I was like, "Okay, I need to get my Superman Funko, whatever." I went to the shelf. They only had Lex Luthors left. They had a full wall of
Aw.
Lex Luthors. Then the shelf above it was empty. So obviously people got
Aw.
Superman. So I went to the counter and I was like, "Hey, do you got any Superman Funko Pops left?" And he was like, "If it's not on the shelf, then no." And I was like, "You couldn't sell me that one in the window, could you?" And he was like, "No, we can't do that." And I was like, "Okay, no problem." So I've been up in Dublin a couple times a week, every week since that. That was beginning of June. And every single time I'm up, I go into Forbidden Planet and there's a shelf full of Lex Luthor, Lois Lanes, and the Engineers. The shelf above it is all empty.
Well,
Every
that's
time I go
good.
in. No, it
Like
is
that's
good. It is
good.
good. It
Yeah,
is
like
good. It is good.
people are excited for this
Yeah.
movie, which it's been an interesting journey kind of getting here, because like when that announcement first happened, I feel like it was more negative than positive, or at least the
Yeah.
like I feel like those loud people were louder than
They were
the
loud.
people that were excited, right? Because we talked about this a lot in that year one of the movie, where I called it the like breakup phase, where like
Yeah.
people were still pissed. They wanted Henry Cavill. They wanted like their DCU back, or they were mad about what they had done with like Flash and Blue Beetle and Aquaman 2 and all that jazz. Like, there was a lot of that, and I feel like James Gunn did a really good. I've had my issues with some of the things he's done with the marketing and stuff like that, but I think what he's done very well is he's slowly dripped that information over that year, like 2.5 years. I felt like there wasn't a month where he didn't have some kind of DC news to talk about. So now we're at this point, and now it feels like everyone's just excited. Everyone's just like
excited, yeah.
Oh wait, like I'm not even thinking about the old DCU. We're just focused on this new one. And like I have my issues with how they did Creatures, but honestly, it maybe
Creatures was
kind
a
of
weird one, yeah.
It was a weird one, but honestly, maybe it did help to kind of just like people were focusing on that for a bit, and I feel like it's good to kind of just like we're a couple projects in at this point, and you could be like, oh yeah, this is what we're focusing on, and we're not really focusing on like Man of Steel and stuff like that. Obviously, there's still people. There's these really, really loud people. I don't know if you saw that big like Reddit thread that was going around a couple weeks ago, where they're just like, buy a ticket but don't actually buy it.
Oh
Just like
yeah.
let it sit there
Like,
for other people can't buy it. And
the film's still gonna make money though that way. Like that's what they're gonna be looking at. They're gonna be looking at the box office numbers for the film. If they don't if you don't go, it doesn't matter. You still bought a ticket.
Yeah.
That's still added to the overall amount.
Well, I think what they were saying is like they wanted you to put it in your cart but not actually buy it, so no one else could buy it, but like
Never
I don't know.
mind. That's
It's
a
weird.
shitty fucking thing
Oh,
to do.
it's really
That's
dumb.
such a shitty thing to do.
And like I'm glad also the like Reddit they were on were also like, yeah, you're weird, dude. Like we're weird, but you're weird, It's like
That's so shitty. Oh my god.
Yeah.
But do American websites not like give you a time limit to buy your ticket and get out of the thing where it
Mine does,
refreshes?
yeah.
Yeah. I usually have like a 4-minute window to buy my ticket or the whole thing like kicks me out. Yeah, that's so stupid though. Imagine being filled with that much hate for a film about a fictional character that fictional character is aimed at kids. That character is there, predominantly like to be like a cool like thing you enjoy when you're a child or whatever. Like for people to be so shitty that they want to ruin that experience for millions of people across the planet is insane.
Yeah, no, like it's a mental illness, I think, for some. And
for
like,
sure.
like we love our fandoms and we get very passionate about our fandoms here and stuff like that. But like you see some posts and like you see somehow like sometimes how people talk about these characters. It's like I hope you can get help because that obsession isn't healthy.
It's not good, no.
It's not healthy. It's not helping you. It's not, you're no longer a fan of that thing. You're just kind of obsessed and you're and again, like I can understand being mad about your universe, no longer happening. Like I went through my thing with like the Arrowverse stuff,
No, I was so annoyed over that. Yeah, that was like a big deal.
It was, yeah. Like we were pissed, but also we moved on. And
no, of course, yeah.
And I think the idea of like I can't imagine still being here at this time this year being like they canceled Superman and Lois. Oh my god! But like,
where's Stargirl? Where is it? Where's season 4?
But like you're missing out on
exactly.
a new experience, and I'm so excited to hop on. I'll probably not like this universe as much as I like the Arrowverse because I had so much history with that.
Yeah.
But this is something new, and I'm super excited to. Again, it's crazy. We're about to start. It's
I know
insane.
it's next week. That's 8 days for me. Is it? No, 9 days for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm seeing next Friday morning. I can't wait. But like what you were saying there, like when Superman and Lois decided to, with that one scene, take themselves out of the Arrowverse, I was so fucking annoyed for like 2 or 3 weeks. And I was like, damn, Superman and Lois, why'd you do this to me? And then season 3 was one of the best seasons of superhero TV I've ever seen in my life. One of the most emotional and well-made seasons of TV I've ever seen in my life. Like, if you can be angry at things for a limited amount of time, but if that's, becoming a fixture of your daily thoughts and a fixture of how you approach things, and that you're depriving yourselves of experiencing new things just because you're angry at something else, like that's just, I don't know, it's not good at all.
No.
Okay, slight turn to Marvel for 1 sec. Thomas Bennett said, I think Cloak and Dagger could appear in Daredevil Born Again since they are vigilantes. I'm not super sure how likely that is, but I would love to see the Cloak and Dagger from the Freeform show back again. They were fantastic. Like, that was such a good show.
I could see them just like, I guess they are kind of getting old now. I was about to say I could see those actors coming back, but
they're probably like mid-20s.
I think Olivia Holton are coming up on 30, isn't she?
She's 27. She's the same age as me.
Okay, you know what? Okay. I mean, I think sometimes they're portrayed as adults. So I think if you're doing the more
that's true, yeah,
adult Cloak and Dagger, they can come back.
It's been like 8 years anyway since their show ended. It's not the biggest deal in the world to just say that they're older now. Wow, they're the Aubrey Joseph, who plays Cloak, he's 2 months older or younger than Olivia Holt. So there's like they're almost exactly the same age. That was crazy good casting on their end.
I could see, like, I almost feel like they could do what they were trying to do with like Daredevil with those characters, where it's like bring back the actors but not necessarily the exact take on those characters, even though I like the take on those characters. I feel like they weren't as, like, that show wasn't big enough. I feel like you could just be like, we're doing a reboot. We're bringing back that cast of characters and, give them like a movie or something. I could see that maybe working, but who knows?
I mean, they were not a huge part of it, but they were like semi-important to the original Infinity War comic. That I remember a lot of people when the show came out in 2017, I think season 1 came out, were like, oh, this show is coming out because they're going to be in Infinity. Let's go. But they were like meant to be 14 or 15 in season 1 of their show. What were they, like mid high school or something like that?
Right.
That would have been crazy. See them run up against Thanos.
Yeah. Now I honestly think Runaways is like slightly more likely just because of the magic element they're really pushing right now. Like, it seems like it's rumored that a big part of phase 7, 8, and 9 will be like supernatural and stuff. So like Nico was in that new Spider-Man show.
Nico was in Friendly Dumb Spider-Man. Yeah.
I said when that was announced, that was maybe their way of just like testing the waters to see if people like Nico. Sure. And it's like, oh, okay, well, throw her in Doctor Strange 3 or something. I don't know.
The only reason I think Runaways isn't as likely is because they removed it from
That's true.
I think
God damn it!
the
That was
fact
so
they
dumb.
removed Runaways but not some of the other shows makes me think Runaways is in a bad spot for how they view it going forward.
Yeah, because that was Hulu, right?
It was, yeah. It was
Then
Hulu
why
originally,
can't they put it on Disney Plus? That's so dumb.
Maybe it got removed on Hulu in the US, but in Europe it was on Disney Plus.
Interesting.
That's and then they removed it. I thought it got removed from everything over there. I thought in the US it was a big deal because it got removed from like rent and streaming things, but then in Ireland it got removed from like Disney Plus.
Yeah,
because that's what it was on over here.
Yeah, it was on Hulu, and then it just vanished. I think you can only get it from like
so it must have been like
buying, renting it, and stuff like that.
So because Disney oversees Hulu as well, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, then they must have just
like all one now.
Did like a tax write-off thing. Yeah.
That's so stupid.
Yeah, I know it is. I don't get it at all. Anyway, back to Superman real quick.
Yeah.
Get sidetracked with your Marvel TV talk. That'll get you every time.
It gets us every time. Yeah.
It gets us every time. Okay, I do have some questions I wanted to ask you.
Okay.
Yeah. About Superman. Okay, so I guess what's your favorite film of all time? Lion King, is it?
It's usually Lion King. Yeah.
Lion King. Okay. What's your favorite film of all time that you got to see in cinemas? Do you think?
That I got to see in the cinemas. I mean, I think Infinity War is still up there for me.
Yeah, that's a good shot. It might not be my favorite film, but I think that's the best. Like, no, Endgame.
That's
was
my favorite experience, like in a cinema. Is I think Endgame is movie. Yeah.
And what's your least favorite film that you saw in cinemas?
Oh God. Least favorite I've seen in cinemas.
Yeah. What's that experience you were like? Not even just that you were bored. The experience where you're like, I hated this. I hated this. I hated this. I hated this. Get me out of this cinema. This is the worst thing I've seen in my life.
I feel like this is probably not a good answer, but like I feel like I don't see a lot of bad movies in cinemas.
No, sure, yeah. If you want
because to see like if it's that bad, I'm like, well, I'm just not gonna go watch it. Yeah. I'm just not gonna go see. I mean, Madam Web is up there, I guess. Like Madam Web and like Mobius is up there just because it's like it's in our circle
Morbius
of like
bad, boring. Yeah.
I'm trying to think because like if it's that bad, I normally don't. I just don't go.
Yeah, you wouldn't go. Yeah.
I'm trying to look. If there's anything like that I like hated.
See, I enjoyed Madam Web as a cinema experience because I was just shocked at the film the entire time. Like they do a random edit or a cut, or like the ADR would be way off on the character, and I'd be like, this is so funny to watch. Like, why is it like this? Whereas in Morbius was just boring.
Yeah.
Like
like Madam Web, I'm kind of with you. Like I really enjoyed like I didn't enjoy it, but like I was able to have some fun with it. I was able to kind of like shut my brain off a little bit and be like, this is crazy, guys. This is nuts.
Like, this is whack.
I saw Cars 2 in theaters when I was a kid, but like
you hate it?
I kind of like it's not good.
Sure. The only Cars I've seen in cinemas was Cars 1.
That's fair.
Saw it as like a 10-year-old birthday party for one of my friends, I think. When did that come out? 2008? 2006. No, it would have been an 8-year-old party. No, but the reason I'm asking is because I want to like get your thoughts on how hyped are you for Superman on a scale of Infinity War being your top cinema experience or whatever is your bottom cinema experience. Like, where do you think Superman's going to fall on that radar? If the Infinity War experience for you was at 20,
right,
and whatever, let's say Morbius is your bottom cinema experience,
yeah,
that being like a -20, where are you on that scale?
It's tough because I think I am nervous. I'm really nervous this week because I'm thinking I'm afraid my expectations have risen too high, right? Like we have, again, I've talked about this movie potentially more than I've ever talked about a movie in my life. Like I can't imagine to a point where I from the original announcement I've talked about it I feel like every week for the last 2.5 years leading to this. And I'm worried that nothing they could do would make me like love it as much as I want to, I guess. Sure. And I do this a lot. I do this a lot where sometimes this was me with Deadpool 3. I like Deadpool 3. I saw it 3 times in cinemas. But the first time I watched it, I kind of hated it, not because it was bad, but it was different than what my mind thought it was going to be. And I think that sometimes is rough for me, where it's like, wait, it's not a bad movie. My brain just had to readjust to what kind of movie it was. So I think it's going to be a 4-star movie for me. I could see it being a 4-star. I want it to be higher. I want to be able to come out of Superman and be like, that was the greatest movie I've ever seen in my life. I put it as my number one movie. Like, that'd be incredible. I think it's going to be a very interesting experience, though, because I think it's going to be a good movie, but I think it's going to be a controversial movie. I think it's going to be very similar to Man of Steel, where it's like, I think there's going to be people that's like, well, it's not a good Superman movie, or it's not a good like comic book movie, or it's not a good, whatever movie, I think James Gunn, it's very common for James Gunn to have a very controversial comic book run, where I feel like you either love Suicide Squad or you hate it. You either love Guardians or you hate it. You either love Peacemaker or you hate it. You know what I mean? So I guess it depends what you like in a comic book movie and what you like in a Superman movie. And, what are you comparing it to? Are you comparing it to Superman the movie? Because I don't think it's beating that, No,
that's the perfect comic book movie.
I don't think it's beating Superman and Lois for me. I know it's not a movie, but like that take on Superman for me. So
Superman and Lois is too genuine and too heartfelt and too emotional. That
it's also too long. You know what I mean?
It is too long as well. But I think there's a human aspect to Superman and Lois in terms of how it deals with Clark and Lois as people, predominantly. Like the thing about Superman and Lois is it doesn't approach Clark or Lois as these, or I guess mostly Clark, but it doesn't approach him as a Kryptonian superhero who is the face of the world and who is the biggest, most destructive being on the planet. It approaches Clark as predominantly a human who loves his wife and loves his children and just wants to be with his family. From what we've seen about Superman as a film, it feels far more like it's about this guy who's a really good guy who wants to do good things, but who exists in this world of superheroes, and that his world is mostly superheroes and being a superhero, and that superhero is his job basically. But like Superman Lois does not feel like that. I think they're two very different versions of the character.
And I think that it's going to feel relatable in a different sense, because I do think it seems like the main marketing is like, how does someone balance 2 lives and how does someone balance 2 jobs? And I think like that was his whole point of adding in all these characters, is that he wanted to show there's Clark Kent, but then there's also Clark Kent at the job, and then there's Superman. It's like these 3 separate entities trying to balance each other and how they contrast each other, and how does he balance the like 2 of them. I think that's what that original like poster that they put out was trying to convey.
Yeah, it was like the 9 to 5. He's taken off his Daily Planet clothes and he's putting on his Superman job clothes because he's going from one job to the other.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. Like what you were saying about the, it's going to be controversial, similarly to Man of Steel, but not for the same reason. I think that's already begun because like there was that scene that we had, or not a scene, it was a TV spot from a few weeks ago where the background over like voiceover dialogue was of Clark being like, I'm human, I love, I care, I do all these things, and people were already kind of criticizing that TV spot as being like, this film is not very subtle. This film seems like it's sort of not beating you over the head, but that it's taking a very in-your-face stance about Clark's stance on humanity and what Clark feels about the world, like Clark feeling like he's human and feeling like whatever. I think that it's going to be controversial for the exact opposite reason that Man of Steel was, where Man of Steel was extremely dark. It wasn't exactly a cynical film, but it wasn't exactly a light-hearted film either. And it took a stance of Clark being very reserved, not really being much of a conversational character, not really talking about how he feels about humanity and life and love and a lot of this stuff. Maybe he feels it inside, but he's not exactly one to talk about this out loud. Whereas now it feels like James Gunn's Superman is kind of maybe a bit too far in the other direction, where Clark is saying everything out loud. And he's saying everything about how he feels about humanity and love and life and all this sort of stuff, to the point where it might feel like it's a little in your face and it might feel like it's a little over the top. That is my biggest worry for James Gunn's Superman, is that it's gonna feel a little not ham-fisty, but it's gonna feel like certain things are thrown at you a lot to the point where they get slightly too much
preachy.
at times.
Yeah.
Slightly preachy as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think I can definitely see that, and like my devil's advocate part of me wants to be like, well, Clark is also very open about his feelings. I think like, or at least Clark Kent feels very open about how he feels. I was just watching Superman the movie like right before we jumped on here, and I loved how much of a little goofball he is, and it's like, well, I feel this and this, and like, oh no, Lois, you shouldn't be doing this, and all this kind of stuff, and I was like, man, he really is a little nerd. Like he is such a geek in that movie, and I feel like we haven't seen a lot of Clark. I guess like in most of the trailers, we haven't seen a lot of Clark Kent, like very classic Clark Kent, because all the Clark Kent we've seen is with Lois, but she already knows.
Yeah, knows he's Superman, yeah.
Which I don't know. I kind of wish we could have maybe seen. I don't know. I'm kind of a little disappointed she already knows in the movie and stuff like that. But I'm curious what his Clark Kent looks like in front of Jimmy Olsen. Does he know? Perry White, and
I think Lois is the only one that knows.
Yeah,
is my bring up.
And I wonder how long.
I agree with the Clark stuff.
Yeah, like
because this is his third year into him being Superman. I think we've heard. I feel like I read somewhere that Lois has known for about a year. Yeah, which like it's that they're saying. I mean, Superman is a pretty well off and done origin story, so I'm not too upset that they're kind of skipping over a lot of it when we've seen a lot of it and some of it really recently. But like what you're saying about the Clark Kent stuff, I agree. We haven't seen much. Like the more I think about it, the more I'm like, have we properly heard any dialogue from David Corenswet as Clark Kent in front of people that don't know that he's Superman? Because every time he talks in the trailers, it's either like that interview with Lois, it's either a scene with Lois, it's a scene with his parents, it's a scene where he's Superman with Lex Luthor. Don't think we've seen anything where he's not Superman or not with somebody who knows he's Superman. So I'm curious to see if he does anything with his Clark Kent voice that's gonna set them apart. Because like Christopher Reeve, for example, he puts on such like a boring, mopey voice when he's Clark Kent, where he's like I don't know if you've seen What We Do in the Shadows, the TV show, but there's a character in it called Colin Robinson who's an energy vampire who like his whole power is he just talks so monotonously and boring that he absorbs the energy from somebody. And not to say that that's what Christopher Reeve feels like when he's playing Clark Kent, but it's like it almost feels similar to that, where he's trying to make himself be boring and not unapproachable, just like goofy in a way that he doesn't want people to really look into him too much. I'm curious if David does something similar to that with his Clark Kent, which would be really fun. And really quickly, this movie might have a Man of Steel kind of reaction. Either you love it because it's lighthearted, or you hate it because it's too lighthearted. I agree completely. I think that's what's going to be controversial about it. And the Cloak and Dagger actors' age completely makes no sense. Tom Holland's 29 and he plays Daren. We weren't complaining about the age for Cloak and Dagger at all. It's just, we were just kind of trying to figure out how old they would be now. But I feel like the thing is, as well, the difference with Tom Holland's Spider-Man is he was 16 when Civil War happened. Then he got blipped away, and he's not. It's not even like he's supposed to be playing a super younger character. More like he's in college now. He'd be early 20s probably, so that's not a big deal. Whereas with Cloak and Dagger, the last time we saw them, they were like young high
15.
School kids. Yeah, they were like 15. We have not seen them since then. It's just you need to figure out if when they're shown back up again, are you going to make the excuse that they were blipped and that's why they're still young, or are you just going to go completely the opposite way with it and be like they've grown up, like they are older versions of the characters now? Because I feel like with Tom Holland, at least we've seen him since Civil War. We've seen him every other year since Captain America Civil War. We haven't seen the Cloak and Dagger characters in like 6 years. So
they couldn't play the exact same characters they did 7 years ago. They have to play not new versions, but older versions of those characters. Sorry,
but you were going to say something before I jumped in all that. Sorry.
I think the closest we've heard David do the Clark Kent, and it's not the full Clark Kent because again it's with Lois, but like I love that scene in that I think it was the first official trailer where like they're doing the interview and he sits up and it's like, just a normal voice.
Miss Lane.
Miss Lane. It's like, oh God, that's really cool. Okay.
Miss Lane. Like, I wonder if that's what it is, where he puts on a voice when he's Superman, but he doesn't necessarily put on a voice when he's Clark. Maybe he just lets his normal self come out when he's Clark, but then he gets really sure of himself and really sort of serious. Yeah, really deep when he's Superman.
Okay, I have a Superman question for you now.
Okay.
And I don't know if this is in your lineup of things to talk about today.
Okay. I do have a few other questions that I'll blaze through whenever we're done.
Okay. What is your thoughts, and this may be on your list, on the hypnotic glasses?
Oh, I did
going around.
No, I think that's a great idea, okay? Because
really, okay,
yes, it's comic booky. And yes, that Clark just having the glasses and that, being the thing where people never notice he's Superman has been a staple of the character since his inception. I get it. The hypnotic glasses were from one issue in the 1970s. They weren't even something that really came up constantly in the comics. There was always that I think there at some point a comic made the thing canon that he puts special Kryptonian glass in his glasses, which sort of infer how people see him or whatever, which probably is a similar idea to the hypnotic thing. But no, I think it's a great idea because I think while some actors like Christopher Reeve can portray the change between the two characters so well to the point where you can't tell they're the same person, the fact that we have Tom Welling in Smallville, who has 9.5 seasons where he doesn't wear the glasses. Then for the last 10 episodes of Smallville season 10 is wearing the glasses, despite the fact that he has been a superhero and has been running around Smallville for 10 years, where we're just sort of expecting that nobody's going to shout out, hey, I know that guy, he looks the exact same as he did last week, has always sort of rubbed me the wrong way. I think the hypnotic glasses are a really good way of getting around that, where you're immediately diffusing the idea that, because people are, with a new Superman film coming out, a lot of people are going to bring up the argument again. It's dumb that nobody recognizes that he's Superman. That was always the thing I got in arguments with about my friends, when I was in school. Superman was my favorite character. They'd always be like, "Yeah, well, everybody's just stupid in the DC universe because they don't realize he's Clark Kent." And I'm like, "Yeah, well, you're stupid too." It's I think it's a really good idea.
Okay.
Sorry, yeah, that was a long rant. But what do you think about it?
I don't know, I really like the gimmick, the whole glasses gimmick. I think it's one of the Superman motifs that probably, doesn't age as well nowadays, but I kind of love it. It's one of my favorite tropes, especially when they really commit to it. I love how silly that scene is in that final season of Superman and Lois when he takes off the glasses and Sam Lane's just oh god, I think it's one of my favorite tropes. And I guess I don't love that James Gunn's that's something I just could never get behind. It's just something that I can't let myself disbelieve in. And it worries me a little bit that if you can't accept that, I think there's a lot of even crazier stuff than that in DC that I'm okay, but what else are you not going to be believing in, or that are you not going to let be? I guess I'm afraid that he's not going to let this universe be too overly cheesy, and that's a little scary to me. I know he's talked about the Lazarus Pit and not being a very big fan of that because of various reasons. It's
I'm okay with us getting rid of Lazarus Pit. I feel like that's something that's kind of been done to death.
Sure.
In DC over the last few years.
Sure. I'm not. I guess I'm not against it. I guess I'm just kind of a little sad we're not doing it, just because I do really enjoy it. I do think there's a lot of
there's
questions around the hypnotic glasses. I don't fully understand how it works. What happens when he's not wearing the glasses and various stuff like that. I have a feeling they're not even going to address it.
No, I don't think they will. I
think a lot of people talk about it. It's oh, they're going to this is going to be dialogue in the movie where he explains it or something. And I was no, I think this is just an outer world thing that James Gunn said. Oh yeah, this is why.
It's probably going to be in the reference book we get in November, because there's going to be a big the making of Superman book. It's probably going to be in that. I doubt it's going to be something that they straight out say in the film. Yeah, I agree.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. Hey guys. Hey Kenneth. Super excited for Superman. Man, this is going to be good. It is going to be good. My favorite Superman before we see David. 1 Chris, 2 Tyler, 3 Tom as Clark Kent, 4 George, 5 Brandon, 6 Henry for live action, and Tim and George for animation. Yeah, no, those are good good ones. Chris is, I always go back and forth on, because I grew up with Tom Welling as my, Smallville was such a staple of TV for me growing up. And I feel I can't ever remove him from my number 1 spot
Tom? Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
in Chris is so fantastic. Like Christopher Reeve is just the master at the character easily. Tyler, I mean, Superman almost made me love his character. Like even that, the fact he's the only Superman we've seen from the beginning of his life until the
to
end
the
of his
end.
life
Yeah.
is crazy to me. Where would you rank those actors?
Tyler's my number. Like there's nothing I think anyone could do to not make Tyler my number one. Very similar to Tom being your number one, just because he was my first live action Superman. Like I had the animated stuff I watched a lot, but like that Supergirl episode, like I watched not even part 2. I watched part 1 and I turned it off. I said that man needs a show. They're going to give that man a show.
Yeah.
And then in Elseworlds, I followed Betsy on Twitter. I like followed her and then I like put the bell on her name because I was like, I'm going to see it when they announce a series with those two characters. So I feel like Tyler and Betsy will never not be my version of the character. Made me fall in love with the character. Made me fall in love with like superheroes and made me feel like that hope I feel from Tyler and Betsy. I don't think I'll ever totally feel with anyone else. And then I think Chris is my number 2. I haven't seen 3 and 4, but I love 1 and 2. So like those will forever be.
I think 1 and 2 are Ari's best performances anyway.
Tom is tough. Tom is tough because I do love Tom, but I love Tom Welling as Tom Welling necessarily. Like he's not like I love his version of Clark necessarily because I know his version is like it's good, but sometimes I think he's a bit of an asshole, which I think sometimes throws me off a little bit.
Yeah,
but
I think Tom is maybe not the best part of Smallville. I think, Rosenbaum as Lex, Erica Durance as Lois, John Schneider as Jonathan Kent. I think they are more enjoyable to watch a lot of the time than Tom Welling as Clark necessarily is.
I like the idea of Brandon more than Brandon himself, I guess. Like I love him in Crisis. I think Crisis is the most I've enjoyed Brandon. Yeah. And like he has that unhealthy Arrowverse boost as well, where it's like I love him, but like do I love him for Ray or do I love him for Clark, kind of thing. But Henry's kind of towards the end of my list, but it's not his fault.
Yeah.
I would have killed to have seen more of him. Like I wanted him to like prove me wrong and prove he does deserve that. And I think he's one of the best looking Superman in terms of like how he looks as the character of Superman, I think he fits the part perfectly if they gave him the chance to actually do something with it.
Yeah. No, I agree. Henry, it's weird because like Man of Steel was the first Superman film I got to see in cinemas and it was such a big deal for me. So it was like I had an attachment to Henry because, seeing Man of Steel, then seeing Batman v Superman the day before my birthday in 2016 with all my friends. And I was the only one who loved the film coming out of it. Like all my friends were like, "Oh, that wasn't that good." I was like, "That was really long. What was going on?" I remember like my friend Liam leaned over to me when Flash came through the thing to see Ben Affleck, and like he watched the Flash TV show and he just looked over at me and was like, "Connor, I've got no fucking idea what's going on." I was like, "It's Flash," but it's like I have a lot of connections to the DCEU with Henry Cavill and with Superman with a lot of that stuff. I think the writing wasn't always there. I think I was more into the certain elements of the DCEU that really elevated everything else for me than necessarily being into. And also, I fell out of love with the DCU a lot in around like 2017, whenever the Justice League version got cancelled that we were supposed to get, and then the films just started coming out with nothing really happening. I was like, we either reboot it now or we start making some serious changes. And then they didn't reboot it for like another 10 years. I'm looking forward to Superman and Supergirl in the DCU. Same. I cannot wait for Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. Well, I guess it's just Supergirl now, probably, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I think that's going to be a great film. Seems like it's going to be really cool.
What kind of setups do you think we're getting in here? Because we know she's in the movie, but do you think it's a post-credit scene? Do you think... I know there's some theories that like she's Ultraman or something,
I hope she's not Ultraman.
I also hope that's not the case, but
I think Ultraman has to be like an alternate David version of Clark, or like not an alternate, but like a clone of David Clark or something like that, or like a Metallo even underneath the mask, or like a cyborg Superman. I could even see it being that, where it's like Hank Henshaw with David's face or something like that. I think Supergirl. Yeah, I think it's. The thing is because James Gunn already said he's not a fan of post-credit scenes being scenes to
right.
set up other films. So I don't think if she's in the film that her reveal is going to be in a post-credit scene. I think like a more likely thing is that it's a joke scene, like, Crypto running off to see like Supergirl, to go join her, because we know that Supergirl is probably going to have Crypto at the beginning of her film if we're going off the Woman of Tomorrow comic book. I also feel like it can't be a important scene necessarily. Like, I feel like it just doesn't make sense for her to be part of the fighting or anything like that. I feel like it has to be like a one and done cameo scene. I have a funny feeling that David Clark already knows that Kara's Supergirl exists.
Interesting.
I think he knows she's out there. They've met before, and a scene is going to be like her coming down, and she's like, "Oh, I saw what you just got into." He's like, "Yep." And he goes, "Will you take this down, dog?" She's like, "Yep." And she just flies off with Crypto. And then that's just the lead into her film. I could see it being something like that. That also feels kind of in line with James Gunn's writing.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, because I think you're right. Because like I was always just under the impression, like, oh, it's a post-credit scene, because I think that's just how our brains have been
The MCU?
wired. You're right, especially in the superhero space. But I think you're right. Like, yeah, he said that he never wants a post-credit scene to set up another Marvel movie, or like another one of his movies. I actually think that's actually really good. I think that's going to actually help this space a lot and make each film feel like its own individual thing, and not just like episode 1, episode 2, episode 3. I don't know. Yeah, I could see it. I don't know. Or maybe it's not a post-credit scene, but maybe it's just like the end of the movie or something. Like we see a crash or whatever. Yeah. Maybe there's a montage at the start of the movie or something with like them having a scene or something. Similarly to what we've done with how we start like Superman and Lois, which I thought was like I don't know if there will ever be a better start to a Superman story.
Yeah, 7 minutes of just origin.
With that incredible music blaring as you see his whole kind of history in such a beautiful way. But yeah, like I don't know. Like, again, like I don't want it to be Ultraman, but maybe if they could pull it off, maybe it could be cool. If they could, yeah, because Ultraman's gonna be interesting, because I feel like that's gonna be a good reveal for like the casual audience, but I think for us, or like,
it'll be like
it's evil Superman, like it's clearly David, right? So I don't know, we'll see. I've seen people being like, it's Dean Cain or it's Tom Welling. I'll say, no, it's not. That'd be stupid.
yeah. Dean Cain. Well, I mean, didn't we already have Dean Cain as Cyborg Superman in Supergirl?
He was in Supergirl, yeah. And then they kill him off?
Because it was originally supposed to be David Harewood, and then he was revealed to be John Jones, which was a great fucking reveal. Then actual Dean Cain came back as Hank Henshaw.
Yeah, and then they got rid of him because everything came out. Yeah.
He was only in season 2, wasn't he? And then that was it. They're like, all right, well, we don't need you anymore. Which, I mean, hey, props to Supergirl getting Helen Slater for Kara's mother, and Dean Cain as
and Linda Carter.
And Linda Carter was really cool. Like, despite out of universe stuff with Dean Cain, which they didn't know at the time, it was cool of them to go to that effort. Same with like Flash getting John Wesley Shipp for Jay Garrick and for his dad, and a lot of that stuff. That's something I do appreciate about DC. They are great with legacy castings of people coming into play, like relatives of characters. But I mean, Smallville as well, the king of that, Christopher Reeve playing Virgil. Why am I blanking on her name? Lois Lane's Margot Kidder. Kidder. Yeah. When she came in as the person who worked with Virgil, it's a lot of cool stuff like that show did. And then Linda Carter played Chloe's mother, I think, in Smallville too.
Oh really?
Yeah, her like metahuman mother, or her meteor freak. Yeah. Just really quick go through some comments, and then I will ask you these other questions. We'll speedrun it because we're already an hour and 20 in. It's crazy. I'm maybe a bit biased towards Tyler because I got a photograph with him, but he made Superman not feel cheesy and inspiring. He sure did. If any superhero cinematic universe is going to be big on multiverse, eventually it's DCU, as most of the big events, apart from Darkseid, is tied to the multiverse. I think, it depends on what direction they go with certain things. Because, like, we know we're probably still going to get Sergeant Rock at some point. They're not saying that's dead yet. But, there's always the two big things with the Justice Society, like what I point to. Some versions of the Justice Society are just from the 1940s of the main Earth, but some like versions of the comics have the Justice Society from Earth too. I think if the
Mm-hmm.
Justice Society shows up or they're referenced as being from the past of the main DCU, I think it's more likely they're not going to do the multiverse for a while. But if when they're going through the history of the DCU at some point, if we see a Justice Society mentioned, I think that's what that means. If there's no Justice Society mentioned, I think we're probably going to get multiverse stuff sooner than later.
See, like a year ago, I would have said they're not doing multiverse for many years, but they already have with Peacemaker, right? Peacemaker.
I guess, but I feel like that's just it's not the same as having like a portal open and characters come through from another universe. I think it's different when it's like I think we're just gonna have him wake up and he's never gonna find out what's different. Like he's never gonna find out what happened. He's just gonna be in a new universe now, and they're never really gonna call attention to it.
Well, maybe, but like he's fighting that like evil peace, like there's two different peacemakers inside the trailer, so I think they have to address it somehow. Like what is that?
But I don't think we're gonna get an answer for it. I think that it'll be brought up where he'll be like, "Where am I? What's going on?" And nobody will ever figure it out. They'll I don't know. I don't think we're gonna get an answer for a while. But I think eventually there's gonna have to be some stuff where they will have to be like, okay, this is definitely DCEU canon. That's kind of why I'm worried about Peacemaker season 2, is because how do you deal with the fact that your old season is tied to a universe that no longer exists, but your new season is set in a completely new continuity?
Well, yeah, and like I would argue Peacemaker 1 is going to have to be canon, right? Like if you
I think he said besides the Justice League ending, it is all canon.
Besides the Justice League, yeah, but I think if you're just like transitioning those characters from one to another, I'd be confident enough to put that season 1 season in my DCU list because it does directly connect over. Like it is these characters are canon, So, but then that goes. You could be like, well, now does that mean Suicide Squad is canon? Because
that's the thing. Then you got to keep going back.
It's a domino effect. Yeah, it's like so Suicide Squad 2016 is canon. Batman.
Yeah,
it's like
canon. Yeah, if Birds of Prey's canon, like just all these other things are canon. It keeps going back and back and back, and you've got to make the dividing line somewhere, because then eventually you run into like Justice League, and then you're like, or 2016 Suicide Squad, and you're like, oh, Ezra Miller's canon. So I guess Crisis on Infinite Earths from the Arrowverse is canon. Oh, that's canon? I guess the entire Arrowverse is canon. I guess Smallville's canon. I guess, it's
Titans,
like... Yeah, Titans. Oh, God, no. We got to destroy the universe to keep Titans out of canon. But no, I completely agree with you. Like, it's going to be a really confused... Like, I really wonder if there's somebody out there who has absolutely no idea about the wider DC universe shenanigans going on right now, that has no idea there's a new Superman film coming out or whatever, but they're huge fans of Peacemaker season 1. It was a season television they tuned into, and they're like, this is the coolest thing ever. And then they're turning on season 2, and they've got Nathan Fillion as Guy Gardner and Isabel Merced as Hawkgirl, and lots of these other things that are like, what is going on? What am I watching?
I mean, I bet there is, because I feel like Peacemaker was one of the more like breaking out of the the little DC circle we had for a while. Like he showed up in like Mortal Kombat, and like I feel like on TikTok he became, like via that intro
that wouldn't watch DC stuff.
Yeah, so I feel like and that's one of the reasons I bet they were like, okay, you can keep doing what you're doing because people love this character. But yeah, like I would imagine someone who maybe didn't even watch Suicide Squad is like, yeah, I love this John Cena guy. John Cena is also like a push for some people. So it's like,
he was Fred's dad. You gotta watch it.
Yeah, no, it's like it's tough, and I think we've talked about this so many times, we don't have to go down that rabbit hole again. But yeah, it is a move that I think like when when it first happened, I defended it a lot more than you, and like you were like, I don't like this, and as we've got to this point, I've been like, no, I kind of 100% agree with you that they should have just cut all ties and just started 100% fresh.
I think the unfortunate factor there is James Gunn doesn't want to say no to some of his friends, I think, or he doesn't want to deal with shutting down projects that he made.
Which I get.
Yeah.
I like if I was him, I'd probably want to do the same exact thing. If I spent,
he's the head of DC Studios. He should
yeah,
be the person who's gonna make the hard choices to be like,
yeah,
okay, I need to kill my project as much as I love it, just
yeah,
because I need this universe to succeed. I think he should have made the choice.
yeah. I don't disagree, unfortunately.
I'm gonna get into some of these questions real
Okay,
quick that
go
I've
ahead.
got lined up, and then we can do like the rest of the comments at the end. Um, right. So I want to ask you. So rather than just asking like, what do you want to see? I want you to give me
Mm,
something you think is likely that you want to see in the film, and something that you think is impossible that you want to see in the film. So something that you're like, this is definitely happening, but I want to see this, and something you're like, this is never going to happen, but I would love to see this.
oh God, what do I want to see? I want to see him shave in the mirror. I want him to do the
With the
laser
laser vision.
vision.
Okay,
I
is
would.
that likely or impossible? Do you think?
I mean, likely. I think that's pretty
Like,
likely.
do you
That
think
feels
we're
very
gonna see
James
that?
Gunn to
Okay,
do.
okay.
What do I want to see?
That'll be VFX heavy though. I don't know if a live action thing can make that work.
Oh, I'd love it. They could though. I'd love it. They
Yeah, no, that
could.
would be great.
Um, yeah. No, I mean, I feel like with a movie like this, I feel like I don't even have a lot of expectations. Like I'm kind of like, I just really, really need it to be good.
Yeah.
It's been a long time. Like I really like Blue Beetle, but I feel like it's been a long time since I like loved a DC movie. I just like this was. I think the Suicide Squad was the only one where I'm like in the last several years where I'm like, oh, this is what DC is, and I think it just needs. I want it to do well. I think that's what I think that is what my expectations is. I want people to like love it. I want people to gravitate towards it. I want people to feel something. I think that's my favorite part about Superman is it personally makes me feel something. It makes me feel safe, and it makes me feel comfort. It makes me feel like this hero that can inspire. And I think we really, really, I said this 2.5 years ago. We really, really need a character like Superman right now.
Need him more now.
The world's gotten really messy these last couple weeks, and it's like now even more. Oh man, like the subtext of what we've seen in some of those trailers are going to hit very, very relevant right now in terms of like culture, like I guess just war culture and stuff like that. It's like, man, like I think people need that right now. I think people need to feel inspired and feel good. And
no, I agree completely.
Something that won't happen. Oh God, I mean, I can go crazy. I could be like, well, Grant Gustin shows up, and no, I don't know.
The crisis is coming. That's the last scene. Flash is like, the skies are red.
It won't happen. Bruce Wayne shows up at the end. It's like, hey, I'm putting together a team.
Here's a question: is it Robert Pattinson or is it somebody else when he shows up? What do you think?
It's someone else.
Someone else?
People keep trying to push that whole narrative. It's going to be. I think they're really steadfast on it. It's separate. But
I think the Batman 2 is happening, but I'm not convinced Brave and the Bold is happening. And if Brave and the Bold is not happening, then
here's the honest truth. I think it depends how Superman does next week.
Superman's a success, then
I think I have a friend I did a stream with the other day, and he kind of was talking about how he doesn't even completely believe all of the stuff that Matt Reeves wasn't ready for his script. He thinks it's been done for a while, but they've been waiting to see how Superman does to move forward. And if it does well, he thinks they're going to merge it. And if it doesn't, they're going to keep it separate.
That's kind of a crazy theory. That could be true.
And like the more he said it, I was like, I could actually kind of see. I could actually kind of see.
Because they'll know within the next week how the film's going to do. Either it'll already be selling well and great, or it'll be selling. If it's not doing like pre-sales and stuff like that, they'll kind of already have an idea that it's probably not going to be super successful.
Yeah.
I'm okay.
It's interesting. I want them separate. I like having a little little contained Batman universe. So hopefully we don't have to do as much Batman stuff in the main continuity. Like, yes, I want Brave and the Bold.
You want to keep them out of there. You're like, I don't want the El Ghouls. I don't want Mr. Freeze. I don't want Penguin. Keep them out of my DCU.
Well, again, I want Batman stuff, but honestly, I think if you have a separate universe, you don't have to go overkill, right?
You don't have to have 5 movies that are Batman related in the DCU.
I guess that's kind of already happening because we got Clayface and we got Teen Titans, and so it's like, all right, we're kind of already there. But I don't know. I like the idea of what Brave and the Bold was selling to me. So I feel like if we're doing Batman Part 2, I'll be disappointed because it's like, I want Dick Grayson, and I want Batwoman. I want Damian Wayne. I want these things, and you can't do Teen Titans. You can't do a Teen Titans if Matt Reeves is Bruce Wayne is here. Unless you completely reboot Robert Pattinson's Batman, and that would piss people off too. You know what I mean? So,
I think my worry with them doing both is just that it's going to cut both franchises off at the knees, where the Batman Part 2 probably won't be allowed to do things that Brave and the Bold is doing, or necessarily use the exact same villains or the exact same characters at the same time. And then Brave and the Bold won't necessarily be allowed to do things that the Batman Part 2 or Part 3 are doing at the same time. Like, does that mean there's never going to be an Oswald Cobblepot in the DCU? Does that mean we're never going to get a Catwoman in the DCU because there's such major players in the Batman Reeves universe? Like, well, yeah, I'm also in the same boat where we see so much Batman, and Batman seems to take over DC all the time, where the most stuff we always get is from Batman. I still think
it is important.
Yeah, I don't want both of these characters or both of these franchises to be lesser versions of themselves because they have to wait to see what the other one is doing, which could be a little annoying.
And like, in fairness, just to play the other side of it, like, there's a coolness to that we can always get these different various kind of villains. Like, I guess I didn't love that like Riddler was the first villain in the Matt Reeves, because we've seen Riddler a couple times, and yes, it was a different take on Riddler, but like, I'm excited to get some, like Mr. It's tough because yes, we have seen some of these characters, but not well. Like, I'd love to see another really good take on like Poison Ivy and Mr. Freeze.
I think we haven't gotten like a proper take on Poison Ivy outside of Batwoman in live action, I don't think, which that would be great to see.
Not since like, what is it, Batman and Robin? Was that it?
Uma Thurman.
Yeah.
Which, like, that wasn't like a graded version of the character. I'd say that was like super goofy. So like, I think so you're thinking the likely thing you want to see is Superman shaving in the mirror, and for the film to inspire people, and the not likely thing is seeing Batman.
Sure.
That's what you're saying. Okay.
I said that's really funny because I just said I wanted less Batman, but I'm pitching like you want. I just want
proper Batman to meet proper Superman, and for them not to just be trying to kill each other straight away like they do in another franchise.
I'm excited to set up Justice League. That's what I think I'm really excited for.
Hey, don't you mean Justice Gang, the movie?
I mean, we saw the like Hall of Justice in this universe.
Did, it's the Hall of Justice Gang. God, they better change that Justice Gang name after this film. Like, I need that to be gone.
Well, it makes sense because like people were freaking out about that. Like, that's so stupid. But then it came out that it was Guy Gardner that named it. I was like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
because he's an idiot.
That, like, and he also will love the idea of JG being on everybody for like, because he's going to be like, oh, it means Justice Guy Gardner or Justice Gardner or something. That's for sure going to be a joke where he's going to be like,
that's a James
it stands for Gardner.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, it stands for Gang. Okay, so similar to that, what do you not want to see? Okay, and again, something that you think is probably going to be in the film, but you don't want to see, and something that you think is impossible, but you still don't want to see.
I mean, I want to see a balance on the comedy, I guess would be my thing. Like,
so you don't want too much comedy?
I think that's a fear for most people. It's like, I like James Gunn's humor, but I don't like it all the time, and I think
it can be too much.
Yeah, I think we both agree on like Guardians 2. It's like, I like that movie, but it gets a bit too far, and like, I like Peacemaker, but sometimes they push it a bit too far. I think characters like Peacemaker works, right? Because he is a very goofy character. Superman, I want them to restrain themselves, and that's what he said this movie is. He said it's not a comedy. He said, it's humor in it, but it's not comedy. So I guess would be my biggest worry. Like, if I were to predict something, an issue I would have, that's one that I would predict. And then what? The second one's
what do you not want to see that you think is impossible, but you still don't want to see it? So what's something that like you'd hate if they did it in the film, but you don't think they're going to do it?
I'm Superman kill, I guess, would be one.
You don't want him to snap Zod's neck?
Yeah, not exactly. I guess I'm not like, I actually don't hate that scene. I'm not like, how could they?
I mean, Zod was going to kill a family. I feel like, he had to make a choice right then and there. I'd hate that scene more if he didn't kill Zod and Zod killed the family. I'd be like, Henry Cavill's Superman's an idiot.
Yeah, I'm not like, I hate everything Zack Snyder does. But like, I also don't love it either. Like, I'm not like, yay, they did that. That's awesome. And I you know, maybe do it slightly different. And, you know, I think Zack Snyder's universe works as like really well as like an Elseworld, actually. Like if you pitched that to me, like, this is DC but slightly different, similarly to how you pitched Gotham or how you pitched Smallville to me, I'd be like, you know what? Hell yeah, this is actually kind of cool.
Yeah, I agree.
So I don't need him to kill, at least not immediately. Okay. Like, maybe if you're gonna do that, maybe wait a little bit.
On a murderer guy. I got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Cool. No, those are good answers. Yeah. I feel like the thing is, Gunn, I don't know how to usually take him, because it feels like Gunn is somebody who doesn't necessarily always love the comic book source material, and he likes to put his own spin on a lot of the characters. So that has made me worried that he's not going to know exactly how to treat Superman as a character, who is an inherently slightly cheesy character, but is something that everybody sort of needs a lot today. And I hope he doesn't make that like a cynical thing, where he doesn't make it a joke almost to be such a hopeful character. Like, I hope that I think the expected narrative of the story is going to be that, you know, Guy Gardner and maybe Hawkgirl, probably not Mr. Terrific. I feel like he's going to be more on Superman's side. But like Guy Gardner, Hawkgirl, Lex Luthor are going to be characters who are like almost laughing at Superman, where they're like, look at this guy who thinks the world is still good. What an idiot. I don't want the film to play into that. I want the film to show us why Superman is right to still believe in good and justice and a better tomorrow and all of these things. I don't want it to like play into the fact that the joke is what's funny. I want it to be Superman proving to people like Guy Gardner or Lex Luthor why the world still needs something like that today.
Yeah, and it's interesting, like, to go into that, like, they had said that, like, the, like, Justice Gang do kill, like they're a team that do kill people, which I think I think everyone, that makes sense except for Mr. Terrific. I'm hoping he's a bit separate from that. But yeah, like you said, I think it's going to be a really good contrast of like, okay, this is what you don't do, and of course there's always an exception, like we see in Man of Steel. But I think it's more interesting for him to fight, to find another way around it, to find a different way. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, cool. So we kind of covered a lot of what I want to talk about, but something we has been really theorized for a long time is that the Superman film is going to essentially be a reverse Kingdom Come, where, you know, you've already got a world of superheroes, you've already got a world of metahumans, and like in Kingdom Come, Superman is like at the end of his superhero career, and then a lot of new, like, really sort of dangerous heroes and vigilantes start coming onto the scene who are trying to do their own brand of justice, and then Superman has to come back and, like, you know, sort of push them along and be like, this isn't right, you're not heroes.
Yeah.
But a lot of the theory has been that Superman the film, the one coming out now in a week, is going to do kind of the opposite of that, where the world is filled with heroes who have their own version of justice and who are go a little further than they should, like we said there about how the Justice can't kill, going a little further. But then Superman comes onto the scene as a pretty fresh hero and shows them a much better way, in a much different way, and then everybody follows that. We got the Superman movie novel there a few weeks ago that is like a prequel-ish to the film, and it's made for kids, so, like, you know, it's not anything sort of, I haven't read the book. But what I've seen about it is that in this film, it sort of states that Superman is another just guy coming onto the scene. You know, the universe is filled with metahumans, with superheroes, and that's, you know, Superman's jumping into this world isn't seen as anything super important, or isn't seen like a brand new day. It's just seen as like the same thing everybody always sees. Like, other heroes have been around for decades now, and Superman's just here with them. I want to know how you feel on that. Like, do you like the fact that Superman is coming onto a scene where there's already all these heroes, or would you rather him be the first one and then usher in the new wave?
I guess I have to see the execution. I've had my concerns with this universe so far. I think that's actually been one of my biggest concerns up front, is like, well, you know, Hal Jordan's like 50 and Batman's going to be at least...
Yeah, Hal Jordan being 50 is fucking crazy.
You know, Barry Allen's probably going to be in his 50s, and, you know, Wonder Woman should be pretty, you know, so I think that's been a big concern of mine. But also, one of my favorite DC universes also did that, which was the, like, DC AMU, right?
Oh, sure.
Like the animated series, and that's kind of how they approach things as well. You know, like Barry wasn't there, and you know,
We had Wally.
Howes wasn't there. You know, so it's very next gen. I'm curious to see about the Superman thing because I feel like most of the adaptations I've seen, he's like the first. He is like him and Batman are like the first, at least on screen. Like there's others, but like front line, the ones they're the ones that we're going at. And I think it just depends on how they go about it. I'm always open to new adaptations of these characters and how they present this universe. It feels very Young Justice coded so far to me.
It feels Young Justice, yeah.
Yes, and I like that we're jumping into a universe that's already established. I actually think it's important to do that because we don't have time necessarily in the modern landscape to do a lot of setup like the MCU.
They gotta get running now, yeah. They can't wait. Warner Bros. Is losing money. They need to start making money. They're not going to be making money if they spend the next 10 years setting up characters, unfortunately.
100%. And I think sometimes with the MCU, sometimes I'm a little... sometimes a little sad that it's so much setup. Like everything is set up just for a little bit of payoff or like a little bit, and then everything go back to normal. It's like, wait! I want to see all these characters interact. I want to see that.
Yeah.
And I think this universe feels very open. It feels very, vibrant. I think almost every DC project that has been announced feels like it's filled with characters. Like, this one obviously has all these various characters, but now like Superhero is going to have Lobo and Crypto, and Lanterns is going to have a various amount of Green Lanterns, it seems, and Creatures had a bunch of cameo, not just cameos I want, but like a bunch of characters that are featured. So it seems like that's kind of like the main tactic that we seemingly are going for. Teen Titans is coming out, which is that kind of same idea. I think that's going to be filled with characters and stuff. So it depends on how it's executed. I'm very excited to see the themes of Superman and like what he's bringing and what's the mindset he's going into.
Sure.
And like you said, like I think I like this idea that like he is the one to change how superheroes are viewed. And
I am excited to see how they do that. Yeah.
Like, I think that is going to be cool if done right. Like, it could not be done right. Maybe they, they don't fully execute it the way we want to, but, I'm okay with it for now. And then we'll get back. We can talk about this again when the movie actually comes out. And I was like,
oh, we should do another one in a month or something after the film comes out. I have two more questions. They're both DCU related. Though they're pretty brief. So one of them I'm just thought of there while you were talking about it. But you were talking about like the world of heroes and stuff like that. Are there any heroes that you don't want to be already established? So heroes that you want to see their origin, that you want whenever their project comes out, that they're like you're watching them enter this universe for the first time. Like people you don't want to be 50 years in or whatever.
It's interesting because like here's what I'll say. I don't want Wally to be Flash already. That's what I'll say.
Yeah.
I'm okay. I'm actually okay with Barry kind of being older. I'm kind of into the idea of like a 45, 50-year-old Barry who's been doing this for like 20 years. And I want to see that whole journey with Wally and just like he's still Kid Flash. He's struggling. It's Barry's the main Flash, but we're watching it from like Wally's POV. Like, I think that's really cool. And then one Barry dies and we have to see Wally have to try and like pick up that. Like, that's awesome to me. I want to see Dick Grayson become Nightwing because I feel like we've never seen that. We haven't seen much of Robin in general in live action, I feel like.
They tend to steer away from Robin a lot, which is kind of weird to me. I don't know why they do that.
Yeah, it's like everything on that side of things I'd like to see. Yeah. I'm actually okay if we do Wonder Woman again. Like, I know she's only got like one proper movie, I feel like. I'm actually okay if you do... Maybe a little bit of a mix. Like maybe she's established, but the whole movie is showing her story. Like it's like a back and forth kind of thing, showing where she started.
Because I could see her being like an outsider character that then softens up a little bit and starts to be more okay joining everybody.
Yeah. I'm I'm really excited that show was, or that movie is officially moving forward. Like we're officially getting that. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Yeah, like there's a lot of characters. I would have said I would have liked to see early Hal Jordan because I think Hal Jordan is a character that
haven't seen him properly yet.
Yeah, like we've never seen that, and I'm really worried we're going to
to skip over it.
Skip over it, yeah.
I feel like he's dead by the end of Lantern season 1. And I'm like, I love Jon Stewart. I don't love Guy Gardner, but I love Kyle Rayner.
Right.
And I love Hal Jordan. And we've, outside of the Ryan Reynolds film, which everybody hates, we've never seen a proper Hal Jordan done in live action. I would love to see that, you know? After years of it being teased in the Arrowverse.
I wonder if we do it like Arrow style, where like each episode has flashback elements, which actually could be kind of sick as hell, actually, if they do it properly.
Like a gritty space cop 1980s flashback, where it's like, it's filmed like an 80s film, but it's in space, and it's Hal.
Yeah.
That'd be so cool. I'd love that.
You could, like, I don't know how long that show's going to be, but like, you can, like, if we're bringing in Guy for that episode, like, okay, this episode we're seeing the flashbacks of like early days of Guy, and then it's like, oh, this one is Jessica Cruz. We get to see the early days of Jessica Cruz, which is why I was so sad that like Anthology 1 over at like HBO, like the original HBO Max show is cut, because I love this idea of like each episode focusing on a different Green Lantern. Like, that's awesome.
There was so much story potential for it.
Yeah, and I like, you could make Lanterns an anthology where like each season is like a different person, like
different
it's a
Lantern, different area.
Like, there's hundreds that you could adapt. Like, that'd be so awesome.
No, I completely agree. I'm really curious on that Guy Gardner being in Lanterns thing, because the two times we're seeing Guy Gardner is one in Superman, and you're talking Peacemaker season 2, where he's going to be filled with the James Gunn style humor, the James Gunn style quotes and stuff like that, because they're both by James Gunn. But then Lanterns is going to be such a tonally different show and such a totally different project that I think it'd be really fun to see Guy come in with that sort of James Gunn attitude to him, and then Hal and John just immediately shut him down and are just like really shitty towards him, and he's just like fed up and just like he just leaves because he's angry. That'd be funny. Okay, last question I want to ask you.
Okay,
what is your, from the announced projects, what is your most anticipated upcoming DCU project that is not Superman?
That's not Superman. Okay.
Yeah, Superman of the Count. Sorry,
Teen Titans.
Titans.
Okay. I love the like new gen, you know, and I guess it depends who's on that lineup, but like I love again, like, I don't know if like Nightwing is in there, but I guess like assuming Nightwing is in that project, it's like Nightwing and Starfire and Beast Boy and like maybe Donna Troy, you know, maybe a Kid Flash. Like, those characters, man, are so interesting to me, and I think that I don't know. I think that's such a fun way to kind of like explore this DC universe. But again, very similar to like what Young Justice did. I would prefer to have a Batman and a Wonder Woman project before that, but it's not even the worst idea to be like, okay, we see Batman on like the outside, like he's there, but he's not the main player. Wonder Woman's involved and all these various things. So Teen Titans is up there. Besides that, maybe Wonder Woman. I want to see another take on that character. Booster Gold was very high on my list.
Yeah, I don't think we're getting Booster Gold anymore, unfortunately. I wish.
But here's what I'll say. My most anticipated DC project currently is not even in the DCU. I'm really excited.
Creature Commandos season 2.
I'm really
Penguin
excited.
season 2.
I'm really excited for that Adventures with Green Lantern show.
Oh yeah, of course, with the Jessica Cruz one. Yeah.
I'm so like, dude, we're getting another DC TV universe that's separate. Like that.
An animated
that's exciting to me. Like, that might be my like Arrowverse replacement universe going forward.
That makes sense for me. That like one of the things that they're letting continue is like an animated universe that's separate from everything else, because they're gonna try and recreate the success of the DCAU from the 90s, which is one of the most beloved 90s television franchises of all time, you know.
Which like that's what I've been kind of asking for. Like, there's some people like, let's bring back that universe, and James Gunn's like, no, like, I kind of want to do new stuff with this universe, and it feels like that's what they're doing here. It's like, okay, it's very smart to be able to introduce these characters in these other mediums outside of your main universe. I think that's what Marvel's really struggled with these last couple of years. It's just MCU, and it's like, but let's introduce these, because it is meant for like a younger generation, for the most part. Like, we love it, but it is meant for kids, right?
We're not the demographic for it necessarily anymore.
Yeah, so it's like, hey, here is, they've already introduced a lot of characters. Like, here's Superman and Supergirl and Steel, and that show is going to Lanterns Kid. It's a very broad universe of characters that they could bring up via that. And then after that, I'm already like, and like fans are like, hey, what's next? We doing My Adventures with Flash, or My Adventures with Wonder Woman, or
Flash? I think Wonder Woman needs one though.
Wonder Woman would be my pitch.
Yeah, I think Wonder Woman is a character that needs to get one, like, pretty ASAP.
Yeah, I'm here for all of it.
Okay. Before we wrap up, because we're almost approaching 2 hours, I was like, this is going to be an hour and a half, maybe hour stream. We'll see. Always get talking. Just gotta go over some of the comments before we finish up. Kenneth said, "If we get a Supergirl sequel, where would you like Kara's story to go? And will she work at Catco and or live in National City or Metropolis?" I think a Supergirl sequel would probably be very space focused. I could see Supergirl becoming a character that like deals with extraterrestrial threats and like would go and fight aliens that are like trying to take over Earth or invade Earth. And then she like goes up, she fights them, she comes back down. I also think the idea of Kara coming out as Supergirl and like, you know, revealing who she is to the world probably means that she won't have a necessarily day job anymore. I think that that's her transitioning to becoming Supergirl full time and, you know, not needing the Catco sort of life anymore. What do you think?
I would say, like, there was that comment from James Gunn that said he's working on like a somewhat Superman sequel, but it's not necessarily a sequel. And everyone's like, oh, it's gonna be like Brave and the Bold. It's gonna be like Superman, Batman. I've said I would not be shocked if it's Superman and Supergirl if they combine. Like,
wait, is he talking about Arrowverse Supergirl or the movie? Because I was talking about the Arrowverse.
Oh, I was talking about the movie. I thought he was talking like Brave and the Bold or
because I think Catco was like a Supergirl TV.
It is, yeah.
Creation, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe for a movie, I don't know then. A movie's her on Earth, probably, I would say.
Okay.
Like a sequel to the movie. Because the first film's supposed to be mostly off Earth.
I assumed he was talking about the movies, but yeah, I was a little thrown off because I was like, isn't Catco just Arrowverse kind of stuff? I don't know. Did you see the comments from Melissa being like, I'd put the suit on again. I like have to see. I put it on again, and people were like, "Oh my god!" It's like, "All right, guys."
Much different to Steven because Melissa's actually been in a lot since. Like, she had a new TV show come out last week on Netflix, The Waterfront. Yeah, which I need to watch, but apparently it's good.
Actually, I'd love a cameo if they like gave her like a little cameo in that Supergirl movie. That'd be sick, actually.
Well, what do you think of it? Like, do you think there'd be anything in the Supergirl sequel for the Arrowverse? Do you think they'd have room to do anything?
I feel like I don't need any of the individual shows to necessarily get sequels. I guess what I would want would be like an overall like Arrowverse kind of movie. Yeah, with like all of them in like either a mini series or like a movie or like an animated thing or whatever. That's what the direction I would go. I would take more Supergirl if it was announced tomorrow. I'd be like, hell yeah, it's back. Let's go. Let's do it. But I'm not. I think out of all the shows, Supergirl's the one I'm actually okay because I feel like that one actually ended.
It had a good ending, yeah.
Like that final season was rough for me, but like the ending itself, I thought was one of the better endings out of all the Arrowverse shows. I thought
where the character ended, yeah.
Yeah,
I think Supergirl and Barry had the best endings for them as characters.
I might agree.
Out of everybody, yeah. No, I agree with that. I guess live action Green Lantern movies. Yeah, that's when we were talking about everything being canon again, and Titans being canon. Unfortunately, Green Lantern is also canon now. Great. The Boys show made it too cool to have heroes be dark and edgy. I think that's why the Authority is not happening anymore. I think it's likely that they were looking at it and they were like, "That's too similar to the Boys. Let's not do the same thing."
I just a little bit more. I don't think it's just the Boys, and if we're exclusively talking about like DC and Superman and stuff, I think the Boys helped. I don't think it didn't help it, but I think it was a little bit of the like DCEU. But I think what did the most damage was Injustice. I think Injustice did incredible damage to Superman's reputation and DC's reputation, and I think like that was what people thought about for DC for a very long time because it was a game and like everyone's playing it for like 10 15 years.
For some reason I thought you said Invincible, and in my head I was
Injustice,
okay, no, because you did say Injustice, but in my head I heard it as Invincible, and I was like, what does Invincible have to do with Superman?
No. I mean, there's some stuff there. Sure, there's a Superman there, but like Injustice. I feel like really, like held the like evil Superman thing, and people are like, "Oh yeah, that's Superman." It's like, no. Actually, it's not.
No, that's completely true. Unfair. And then The Boys, the final season just finished filming, so that's going to be coming out next year. I'm kind of looking forward to see how they wrap that up. I think now that The Boys has an ending that they can't run from, I think it's probably going to be the best season of the show, because one of my problems with The Boys has been how they've just constantly tried to keep things on screen so they don't have to get rid of them yet.
Gen Z is in a couple months. Can't wait.
Gen Z is in September, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think James Gunn is a great filmmaker and is good at telling comic book stories. I agree. I have my problems with Guardians of the Galaxy 2, but I think, and slight problems with Peacemaker Season 1, but I think most of his projects have been great. I've been a fan of everything else he's done besides those. The Trust won't treat Superman right. He saw the original Superman movie at the theater in St. Louis in 1978, the same theater Jim Lee saw Superman. No, I'm not saying I don't think he'll treat him right. I was saying that I think James Gunn has proven in the past that sometimes he thinks it's more fun to take a comic book character and turn it into something else. The way he does with like Vigilante, the way he did with pretty much the entire Guardians of the Galaxy. Like you routinely see comic book fans of the Guardians of the Galaxy talk about how Gunn pretty much turned them into very different characters from the comics. I'm not saying he was going to do that with Superman. I just think given his proven track record with prior comic book projects, it was not out of the realm of possibility that he would want to do a bit of his own take on it. But
and it's not even always a negative either, but it is something he does, right? Like I'd argue Guardians was almost for the better, right? Because I do think he turned those characters into a household name that they never would have became if he didn't do that. Superman's a character I'm glad they're not, right? Because if
it's a big deal, yeah.
Right, but like I think in Guardian's case, and even arguably Vigilante's case, has become a more popular character because of it. But you definitely have like people like you was like, yeah, but I really like that version of the character. I would have liked to have seen that character. So take it as you will.
Yeah, I agree. I think the tone of Superman is going to be these ones a little bit Arrowverse, DCAU, and Snyderverse in terms of the visuals of brighter colors. Yeah, I agree. I think I could do with the colors in Superman being a little brighter than they are currently, but I think it's definitely a much brighter visually universe than most of the Snyderverse stuff was. I agree on the tone. I feel like an Arrowverse tone with a bit more mature themes like the Snyderverse had when needed would be a really good mix. The DCAU is what most people's favorite DC universe is.
Yeah,
that would be great too.
I definitely feel closer to DCAMU than and like Young Justice than Arrowverse right now. Yeah. But Arrowverse also had a bunch of like tones that they would kind of go back and forth between.
Like Arrow was different to Legends,
Right. Like I feel like the closest they're at right now would be Flash, where I'm kind of, it's a very similar vibe, but not quite there yet.
I think it feels almost like Stargirl more than Flash.
Oh,
just with how it's approaching characters, I think it's got that sort of vibe to it.
Actually, I would actually say maybe Superman and Lois. Like I feel like Superman and Lois might be the closest right now, because that had a mix of like cynicalness and also very like lighthearted and fun.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah, that's true. Look, I trust James Gunn. He's not let me down yet, and I'm going into Superman at the DCU with an open mind. Well, I'm going into an open mind. DC has scorned me so many times over the years.
Yeah.
I am worried that if Superman doesn't do well, we're not going to see half the projects that they are talking about because they won't have the money to make them. Like, it could be critically reviewed as the best film of all time. If it doesn't make money, they're not going to make more of them. Warner Bros. Can't afford to make more of them. They literally are like losing money by the day. Yeah. They're potentially looking at a buyout, within the next year.
I think it will do well though. Like we've talked a lot about that over these last couple of years, and I've been very nervous. But I think as we've got closer, and maybe it's just the like circle I'm in, like maybe this isn't like the general public's perception. I feel like Superman's the one I've seen the most hype for. Like right now, it seems like that's the one people are talking about the most. I like Jurassic World does not seem to be as big as we thought it was going to be. Like
the midnight screenings were sold out last night.
Okay.
Yeah, I saw tweets where from one of the people who writes for Discussing Film, where they posted like a picture of how all the cinemas in their city, like the midnight screenings, were all sold out pretty much. And those are midnight screenings. Those are not like, for children mostly. Like, let me just double check that, like what the exact
Jurassic World is always the like casual audience though. It's never people in my circle, because like in my circle it's definitely like, we don't care about Jurassic World, we're done with that. But people love those goddamn dinosaurs. People like they go crazy for them, which I
love dinosaurs.
They love them. I don't know.
Yeah, they're saying that Jurassic World Rebirth is aiming for 120 million over this weekend. 120 million opening weekend is insane.
It's pretty good.
Yeah. Like, that's almost half of Thunderbolts. How much did Thunderbolts make? Like 300 million?
Yeah. It was close to 400, but it didn't quite.
Well, that's like 25 to 30% of Thunderbolts' entire box office run in one weekend.
And again, it's going to come down to, can it keep that up when it comes to Superman and when it comes to Fantastic Four? And I guess technically Smurfs.
And Smurfs is all, yeah, true. I forgot that was it this weekend. I'm okay with an older Barry Allen, but this new Flash being Wally West and his story in the DCU. Yeah, that feels very Young Justice-y as well.
Yes.
Could see it. For me, it's Supergirl. Yeah, I'm also really excited for Supergirl. Can't wait to see what they do with that. It's going to be a good film. I'm excited for the Supergirl movie. Hopefully do the character justice. Yeah, for sure, Jonathan.
Yeah.
Kako just got introduced in the comics. There we go. That's a good answer.
Oh, hell yeah.
So we know that now. That's cool, though. It felt like it was a very Supergirl TV show creation, because I couldn't remember it from any of the comics I read. So it makes sense it was introduced recently. The Waterfront is really good. Going to watch it once I got my Netflix subscription renewed. Melissa is great in it and goes through a lot. Cool. Yeah. I do need to watch it. And the ending of Supergirl TV series was great. Melissa was a great Supergirl car as well. Yeah, out of the 2 live action Supergirls we have, or 3, I guess. Yeah, we got wait, no, we got 4, because we got Flash as well. I was thinking, for some reason in my head, I just had Helen Slater and TV Supergirl, like from the Artverse.
And Smallville.
I completely forgot. Yeah, we had Smallville, Laura Vandervoort, and then we had the Flash. Oh, Sasha Calle was good in the limited stuff we saw in Flash.
I kind of wish they just waited, because like I would have been okay if she was our DCU Supergirl. Like, I thought she did such a good job.
I think Millie's great in House of the Dragon, but yeah.
Millie's great. Yeah. Like, I'm not upset by it, but like, she really got fucked in the end in terms of like.
I love the costume she had in Flash. I thought it was a great Supergirl costume. It was
just my favorite part of it. I thought. Like,
no, she's my favorite part of it too. Like, sure, Michael Keaton's great. No, I wanted Supergirl to be like the main player in that film over Michael Keaton's Batman for sure. But yeah, I think we'll call it there. 2 hours almost exactly. Sorry for keeping you so long. Thank you for talking about Superman and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Last of Us with me, Daren. It was great having you on.
It's great being here.
Yeah, thanks so much. And thank you everybody for tuning in. We had a lot of people. We had this guy here, Daren. What was he doing in here? Thanks everybody for showing up. Hope everybody has a great night. And yeah, we'll see you on the next stream, which will be happening never. Super great show as always, guys. Love your content. Thanks, Kenneth. Really appreciate
See ya.
We'll live stream again sometime. Maybe sometime. Maybe never. We'll see. Maybe Superman will be the worst thing ever. I'll delete my YouTube in anger, and I'll never talk about it again. See you, Jonathan. Thanks for
if it's bad, we're done for it. If we're
bad, DC's done for. Or no, if it's bad, DC's done for. Seriously. But yeah. Thanks, guys.
Bye.